Welcome, everybody. This is D. Durrell with the Conscious Clientele. Thank you for being here today. Letting the music flow as everybody come in. We're going to have a discussion today. The discussion is going to be on what do Black women want out of the Manosphere? And I'm welcoming the opinions of each and all Black women and also men that participate in the space. Welcome, everybody. Again, this is D. Durrell at the practice. Happy to be in touch with each and every one of you that are in right now. Coming to you right now on this Saturday night. Throughout this weekend, I've been doing some late live streams. Been pretty busy during the day, shopping, stuff with the family, work. Man, the holidays has been a very, very busy time for me. One of the busiest times of the year, leading up to probably the first or second month of the year. Usually is the most busiest time for people that work in the helping professions. So it's been a wild week, had a lot of things going on, a lot of controversial stuff going on in the manosphere with different people, so forth. Of course, again, it's another week where KS is the center of attention and seems to be dictating what is going on within this particular space. So me, as the Black YouTube therapist in the manosphere, I kind of was looking at a variety of different content, particularly the women who participate in the space, and particularly the women viewers who participate in the space. Now, the Black manosphere itself doesn't necessarily have a lot of Black female content creators, but it has enough. But there's far more viewers, subscribers. There are far more people who contribute and support those that appreciate the content of the content creator. And usually those are Black men for the most part. But I want to have this discussion because I want to know, and I would like to get the opinions of those women who are going to be coming in and out, those who are going to have a conversation. I want to know, what do you want from the manosphere? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what I think they want based on the things that I've heard these women say, articulate on panels, arguments, beefs, just knockdown dragouts and what have you. What's up, Cyber Savin Court of Fire? He said, I thought I was the only one thinking about that, what you're talking about now. Yes. And if you want to come on the panel, brother, it is an open panel. So if you do want to come up, this is an open panel tonight. So I think this is something that needs to be discussed in 2021 because you just say just cyber line 7th. Okay, brother. Well, tell me what were your thoughts on the things that you were thinking. You can come up also BMT if you like to. That's the link. I want to discuss what women want out of the manosphere. Because I'm going to be honest to the women, if the those coming in and listening to the replay, I'm going to tell you, most men in the manosphere don't care what you want. They don't care. They don't really care about what you want. Because in the grand scheme of things, in the formation of the manosphere itself, the inception of it, it was for Black men. What's up, mommy? How you doing? Appreciate you for coming in. So I think that before any woman or any female comes up and give a discussion or say anything in the chat, you have to be in the understanding that that in the inception of the manosphere, it was not created for women. And I think BMT, you in the house, I think you would also agree. So we have to keep that in mind, that before there was a Black woman sphere or Black this or that, that was the Black manosphere first. Okay. Now, just like mommy just stated, I say nothing. I have zero interest in that sector or their views, not my place. Okay. Now, for a lot of men in the space, they would concur with what she's saying. A lot of men in this space don't really value the opinions of women, nor do they care, and they would prefer you not have an opinion. Because when you hear them discuss and explain what the relationship between Black men and Black women is supposed to be like, their ideal situation is that Black women don't have an opinion and that their opinions don't matter and they're not valued. Okay, so I just want to kind of get the meat of how the environment in which you're going to have this discussion. We have to look at those particular parameters, and that's the fact that their opinion is not valued in the first place. But that doesn't mean they don't have an opinion anyway. So what's up, Cyberline? Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey, what's up, brother BMT?
What's
Just
up,
want to
brother?
say, hey, how you doing, brother? Good, happy
What's up,
weekend, man.
BMT?
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah. No, so excuse me, I'm not too loud, am I? My volume isn't overbearing, is it? I just want to
No,
make
you're
sure.
good.
Okay. So I try to do that because I listen to some streams and people are like super loud and nobody says anything. So no, it's interesting that you're talking about this, and I'm kind of riding my bike, but I got your notification. So I said, let me jump over see what he's talking about. I thought I was the only person who was kind of thinking that in my head. Obviously, here you are. So I think out of the gate, you said it. Um, the space was not designed for women. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention and just keep it honest and say, for example, if there were to be a split of the spaces where there was a literal black woman's sphere. I'm not talking about, the black woman's sphere over at B1, but I mean a literal faction where
Yeah,
all the women hang out at and talk about whatever it is they talk about.
black
And
men.
the black men have, and men have their space where we are. Um, I'll be honest to say that I wouldn't ever have a reason to go over there unless there was something I needed. And unless someone said, hey, you need to go over there and ask this question, or you need to go over there and join this panel to get information on this specific thing, I, you know, I, I would be surprised if someone told me, if someone said, I have a reason to go over there, I would never have a reason to go in a woman's space ever. It's like going into a woman's locker room to go ask a question. Like in the locker room when you have a bunch of men, or you could just get your information from somewhere else. Um, so, and then if I use the example based off your question, I'm gonna pick on someone for a minute. And it's not personal, but I'm just using the example. A person like a Jessica X
Okay.
um, feels or may have the feeling that she can benefit by joining the supplementary argument. I mean, joining the argument for men in a supplementary fashion. But if we change the mathematics up and say, well, okay, well, we're not having an issue where we're actually dealing with women. We're only really dealing with the things pertaining to men, which may involve women, but we don't need to necessarily interface with women like it's going now. Then Jessica X or anyone in that capacity, they don't have a reason to really be hanging around us in the locker room. She doesn't really have a reason to be supplemental to the context at hand. So there's nothing of benefit for her. And if we look at a lot of the women that are, and it's not to pick on Jessica X, should somebody soundbite me, but I'm just giving a parallel,
Yes,
right?
she could be an
So
example.
yeah, so excuse me. So if you think about it, women don't really, the only benefit that they get for being around a space that was not designed for them is they get invited to, they literally get invited by a man to give their perspective on something that someone might find valuable, number one. And B, just the fact that anytime you throw a woman in the mix of a bunch of men, there's always going to be that group of men who are going to get distracted, and she becomes relevant. So she can say, well, people are here for me or whatever, which I'll be honest. Again, if we reset everything, and I don't want to sound chauvinistic, there, unless a woman can contribute something here, can contribute something to BMT that he can't do for himself, or that his wife or his woman or your woman or somebody else's woman or wife can't do for you, there's really no need for them to be here. I know that sounds harsh and critical and cold, but it's the truth.
Well, it's your opinion. I mean, well respected. So, well, and I want to know, like, my me is actually a female, and she said, I don't get why women call in to their shows, knowing their opinion. It's not like they don't make it clear. I am I'm not trying to be rude, but if I wanted help, I'd ask D Durrell, not some feminine dude. Now, I kind of know who she's alluding to, and I'm not gonna go much into that. But then she says maybe the women feel like they can talk to them because they have feminine energy and can relate to women like womanhood. I don't know.
So
So
if
BMT, so go ahead.
if I can give a rebuttal, because I was actually on another panel. I've been riding my bike around all of YouTube, and I do mean like all of it. And I just been kind of, getting friendly and being neighborly with people who aren't the people we know in the space. And I've been meeting a lot of new people and having a lot of interesting, different conversations in the multiverse, as I always call it, of YouTube, the black version anyway. So what she said, someone at the other panel kind of said the same thing yesterday, a couple of women, there were like 5 women. And my rebuttal to that, because like I said, I support Kevin to a degree. And what I see he's trying to do, what I know he's doing, which are two different things. I see what he's doing, but I know what he's doing, two different things. But I don't agree with him 100% on what may be suitable for him, because we're all different. You, me, BMT are different guys, but we're men. So we have similarities, but different tastes according to whatever it is. And what I told the other women, because it sounds like some women have the same foundation of their argument when they go and hit Kevin Samuels with the whole feminine thing. And my rebuttal to that, I was like, listen, it doesn't. We're beyond the point now where men know when a woman doesn't have any more items to throw at you, even if they disagree. She can throw knives, she can throw the kitchen sink, she can throw the skillet, the boiling pot of water, the grits. If none of that damages you, then they go with the questionability of a man's manhood. And I said, some men are beginning to develop, and some men have always had Teflon plating where calling a man's femininity, calling a man's manhood into question isn't going to work. And you have to ask yourself as a woman, take that argument and sell that argument to the few women who call in to say, thank you. Whatever you're doing, Kevin Samuels, or whatever you're doing, it's working for me. I appreciate that. Women have to go to other women with that argument, and they have to have that back and forth, because if I sit here and tell BMT 5 reasons why I feel he should eat baked chicken with sauerkraut and mustard, and he doesn't like that, that's going to be crazy. But you know, he may like his chicken a different way. And if I try to sell to him to eat his chicken in a way that I feel I don't agree with the way he's eating it, then it's gonna be like, dude, listen, get out my face. My chicken's okay. I appreciate you giving me the different way to try the chicken. I might try it, I might not. But overall, I like my chicken fried with, Tabasco sauce and greens. Period. So just that perspective, because I see women say that, but they don't. They're bringing the argument to us, and we're like, okay, yeah, whatever. You need to talk to the women who will say, I'm sorry, sister. What what isn't working for you is working for me, and that's the bottom line. They need to take their
Okay.
argument with other women.
Okay. So that's an argument between women for the most part.
Yes.
Okay. What's up, BMT? Your position.
Yeah. So I think what I've been in this space for a long time, with my tenure and the belt and all the stuff, and we see things a lot differently than what people see in the chats and that viewing stuff. You know what I'm saying, D? You look at it a lot different when you start becoming a content creator, and you start to say, well, what's my content going to be for? Is it going to be for men? It's going to be for black men. It's going to be for introverts. It's going to be for women. It's going to be how. So the dynamic of the algorithm your content is going to go in. Okay. Now we know it can't be towards nothing towards the home. That's being possible because most men that look at the home in this space, and there's not that many men that push the home or household content. Then you're going to actually look at the man. Now, the proof is always going to be in the pudding. Whenever you ask a man for the fruits of his work, mind you, we are black men, so you're going to ask for, well, what is your work? What do you do? If you're going to speak on certain topics or certain things, we want to know what is it that you've done. But as black people, we like to see your works and your worth. And so, as far as it goes toward women, it blew my mind. But at first, when we looked at it before the great sweep of the Manosphere, mind you, there's two different there are. We're going to just talk about just these two. There are the Black Manosphere, and then there's the overall Manosphere. The overall Manosphere has zip, zilch, nada, anything to do with that of the empowerment or that of men and women talking or working together. Okay, that's how much we do know. This was the offshoot of that because, for the most part, they didn't give a damn to hear about, especially a black woman or a black man or any of them type of issues. That was the last thing, you know what I'm saying? Bottom of the barrel issues to everybody else. They don't give a shit to hear about that. So that was the birth of this space. Now, as far as it went towards black women, y'all were crazy because I get it. At first, people were just watching in the clouds and coming over. But then you started getting the women, as you would call them, I guess the agreed. I don't know what to call them, these women that agree with men and shit. But they started coming, the mammies or whatever kind of shit. But the thing about it was, those mammies would be the type of undesirable women for the most part. Because I've never seen a desirable mammy. And usually, if they are desirable, there's something mentally off about that chick that she just so easily falls or follows a man that talks down on her or that of her likeness. This is just from what we've seen and what we know. So when we watch these type of people, these type of women coming around these type of men, we have to understand they are not mentally or formidably intact. Okay? They're just not there. Because you will go to it's like a pig going to the wolves den and sitting down with the wolves. But now these same wolves starve for social acceptance, family acceptance, society acceptance. I just being like I said. And so these women enjoy hearing sometimes that of these men because they know that, you know what, in his desperation, if you starve a dog enough, you can get a dog to eat its own vomit. You hear me? So these women know by putting up a cute picture, don't even have to be them, but a lot of these men done been catfished by saying, yes, I agree, and I submission and all that dumb shit. They agree. They'll follow it. Hell, putting on a goddamn suit. Now we gotta be honest. Now, there have been certain men that do have female predominant um holders in their chat. You understand me? However, however, they do not really rock with the manosphere. All of that. We have dating coaches. For the most part, they are dating coaches. Now, these dating coaches they're not really speaking to men. They speak to the women because they know, what do they know about the women more than they know about the men? The women pay more. Women are more marketable than black men. I'm sorry, black men, y'all don't really pay shit. If you want to make money on YouTube, go to black women. They're gonna pay you. That's why y'all got BET, VH1. Y'all got all the old network, all them damn networks for women because they know women kick out more money than men. I'm sorry, men don't really kick out, especially black men. So it's more lucrative to. That's why a lot of these women in this space, they come here because they're just learning the angst of these men. They don't necessarily agree with them. They just learn the angst of them, you know? And so what you have going on is that they're like, well, they keep coming back because they're thinking that, here's what I gotta say. It's like an abuse, it's like an abuse relationship. These men do not see these women as equal. They don't. I never cared for having to get my food first. But in the eyes of some of these other men, they must eat first. Their women should never be allowed to speak or talk or let alone look them in the eyes or some shit. You know, they like that type of subversion of goddamn um, women from another location that cannot really contest what they're saying. That's why the angst, especially against Western women, is so high in this space. Majority of the content creators in this are in the Manosphere are Western. Feel me? But their angst are against women in a first world power that can compete back with them. So a woman that has her stars and her checks together, these men don't like you. They don't. You can shit. They don't want you because of the insecurities that go on. They don't want to deal with you. They don't. I can promise you. If you look back, and well, I know some of y'all can't find it, but all these men have past destructive hurt issues, including myself. But how they channel it and how they talk and carry on, and you look at their repertoire of their repetition of their lifestyle, it's very repetitive. And the women, to them, it's like they're trying to conquer that abused victim through this man, that man that wronged them. But they see it in this type of man, like, if I can get him to understand me, then shoot, then I feel like I want. And a woman's mind is backwards, but a woman be trying to save the most jacked up individual, even these goddamn crazy motherfuckers on here. So they'll go to these people and try to hear them out and all this kind of crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? And they'll try to sit down with them and stuff, knowing that after a while all you're gonna do is get dragged. All you're gonna do is that, but they'll keep going back because if they feel like they can get one leg up, or they can get a few men to agree with them, that will boost them up for a few more weeks to keep coming back. And so they'll keep on coming back to them same abusive talking points, hoping that that will be that one drag in the desert that they save and shit. And the women that do follow these guys, you got the dating codes, the ARC. What's the other dude? What's the other guy? Shit. There's only a few. There's only a few that I do know they have women filling the chat. What's
Rosario,
Lucario,
and Rosario, and all them. Lucario, whatever.
What's that military dude that was traveling around and stuff? Ex-military. He's a prison guard. The dark skinned dude.
Is it Adams?
No. God damn it. We don't hear from him much anymore. But women go to his chat and they go to ARC's chat. But see, the interaction, how they deal with those two brothers, versus how they deal with this new guy is different. They treat the dynamic, and you got to pay attention to how they treat those two versus how they treat them. They talk to Kevin like it's a girlfriend kind of talk. Versus they talk to ARC like, what do I got to do to make a man like you happy? So if I can make you happy and you older nigga, and mind you, like these talking points are literally, but honestly, let's be honest, they have more access to more female channels of where they can see women in relationship that are giving relationship advice. There's more channels out there for women, versus you'll get the Bachelor Boy channel, but usually I'm just saying they're not in this space. They're not in the manosphere. So the manosphere is really compiled together from the dark web, and you can look that up. But I showed you the channel or the show where it came from, so we can kick it from there. I don't want to talk too be on over talk.
It's cool. I mean, you're bringing up some good things, and I do think that. I mean, and I think, like Cyberline said, there are things that when you really look at Kevin, you can look at his overall ulterior motive versus what is actually happening, what he's attempting to do, and the problem is that Kevin understands how he's being perceived.
Right.
He knows that he has been perceived as a person that women and men think that his sexuality is suspect.
Mm-hmm.
He understands that you will not see another man in the manosphere wearing a purse-like accessory around their shoulders, or we understand that.
No, you will not.
Huh?
You will not see that. And it's crazy, but we got pimps in here. I ain't never seen none of the pimps and them wear no damn man purse. I ain't never seen any of the pimps or any of the players or any of them type of dudes wear no man purse.
Exactly. And he understands. He understands who he is, and so on. He understands who he is, and he understands how he's been perceived, and he also understands what attracts women. Because, like you stated, a lot of these men and these dating coaches understand that they can make more money off of women than men. Okay. And yes, he wears the kitty heels too, by the way, Mommy. You won't
Now
see
hold
any
on,
men with kitty
hold on,
heels.
hold on. Now on the hills, I got to give y'all some pushback to see. I pay good money for my, you know, my 12-inch, cowboy boots and my,
Well, that's different.
I got
You trying to
listen,
compare cowboy boots to man purses and shit? No,
now see now man, now sat like those across the shoulder or across the chest strap things. If it ain't looking like Indiana Jones, I'm not gonna have it. And I don't, me personally, it give me a book bag if
So
I'm gonna
what?
put something
So
on
where?
my back,
So what is the pushback?
But I like a little the little man. I don't care if it's Yves Saint Laurent. I'm not gonna wear it, but I saw the person about the heels, and I got to get pushback because I have several pair of
Uh,
John Wayne's with
no.
ostrich and with lizard and just some plain old relaxed cowboy boots with that 1.5-inch heel. And I don't wear the low cut cowboy boots. I
Yeah,
wear
but
the real deal, like I'm on a horse.
but
And I got
those are cowboy boots. We're
yeah.
talking about elegantly crafted Italian snakeskin
Oh,
silk suede shoes.
And I got a
right.
pair
You
now.
trying to compare? You
Kitty
comparing
heels.
cowboy boots, and I rode on horses. I know what the heel is for
Right,
doggone for the spurs and stuff. So
right,
you're talking about two different things. You're talking about two
yeah.
different things.
Now I have nice dress shoes for men
Are they? Are they?
that
Are
that
they? Are they
that
got heels on the back?
I mean, they're not as
Mm.
high as cowboy boots, but I do have some that are like the old style English, the old style Englishman boot that were
Mm.
elegant, they were classy. But I mean, I'll put it this way. I mean, I have some that have turned women's heads, and they're like, those are some hot shoes for men, but I don't look feminine. My shit looks butter laid and elegant and it looks powerful, not funny style. You know what I'm saying?
Lord have mercy.
Okay,
Jesus
I
Christ.
hear what you're saying, but I think even though the boots they do have heels, but they're more masculine. When people think of boots and these other different shoes, it has a masculine look to it that people are not questioning. I'm sorry, when you saw those shoes that in which he marketed the
Yeah,
the
he
boots
got
and marketed the kitty heels and all that. I'm sorry, that is
yeah,
look
he got
like
bright
something
red
that a
ones. Yeah, he does have. I put it like this, and you're right. I'm glad you pointed that out because he had his showcase, and I was looking at some of the boots, and I was cool with the boots that looked like that were Oxfords, or the some they had wingtips. But then he had some boots that I felt that was just going a little too far, like he was on the runway in France some damn where. And I'm
even
just like,
Prince
nah, I
he
can't
was
do rain boots that look like leather, the full leather suit in the porno movies type. I can't do it,
man.
brother.
Some of that stuff would be something even Prince would look hard at and be what the hell is that?
Right.
What's up, Chaos Rain? What's up, brother?
What's good? I do.
What's going on? What's on your mind?
What do the black women worry about this manosphere? Well, the only thing that is, if there's any such thing as worry of any pushback of any narrative that's been pushed on the black male population for decades. I guess that's the only concern. But besides that, it's not really that serious. You know, there's just niggas be talking on the internet. Some might take some, it might go somewhere, and some it just stay stagnant. At the end of the day, I look at a good portion of it as barbershop talk. That's all.
Okay. So what do you think about what do the women want from the manosphere?
What do they want from Manosphere? I just came into the stream. What do they want? Did they
Yeah.
name it? Has anyone come up and gave some
Well,
suggestions?
I'm asking you, what do you think they want?
I don't know what they want. They gotta ask what the hell they want. I'm not part of this master. And you should know this, right, Dieter. I'm not part of no clique or affiliation like that per se. So I don't know what
Okay.
that one.
But,
They
but
gotta
you
be
but you
vocal. Just like, and since we asking what people want, one thing I will say what the other conscript Samuel said, that when women want to understand men, you always got to ask, what does the man want? When we ask these questions, we get crickets from either side. So we always got to ask, if we don't know what a man wants, or hell, some dudes don't know what a woman wants, then the biggest question I ask, so what then? Because seem to me both sides are clueless. So both sides should take a corner and sit down, figure out, write down questions to ask either party what they want, and then come to agreement.
But,
That's how things move forward.
I
okay,
disagree. I
so
disagree.
I got a question. This space is about over close to 6 years old.
I thought I was 5 years old. Okay, came out
No, it's 6 years
2005.
old. My
2015.
channels, huh?
If I was
No,
2015, because
no,
sitting in 2015, and some other cats came around that same year.
no. You talking about the Black Manosphere?
Okay.
Is that the Manosphere itself is older than that? And again, black people, y'all didn't make this space. Y'all didn't. Y'all just joined on because y'all guess the woes of feminism and shit.
Okay.
Got y'all and y'all baby mamas.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out, um, what's the end game? Because this shit ain't got. Where has this gotten black men? How are you gonna help black women? And y'all ain't been able to help black men.
Mm.
So you got it all fucked up. So you're the space where these women are coming. The black men hasn't made no advancement. Hasn't got a school, a law firm, a bank, a trucking business, a goddamn shit. I haven't seen yet what a black family be produced from this goddamn place. So I'm trying to figure out, why would even a woman want to come here if the men here have yet been seen or looked at as any type of authoritative provider. Listen, I cut straight deep. I ain't got no time for the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
A woman is going to look towards a man as a provider. If that's what a lot of men want to, play that Mulan song, be a man. But they mainly, I'm hearing a lot more so of, I should have a safe space. Now, Now, naturally, whenever I heard the safe space catalog come up, that's usually with the rainbow community, the goddamn um rainbow community had that talking point, and goddamn different talking points of people in victimization mode. So I'm trying to figure out if the women are coming here, but the men are feeling victimized. How can the women? Why are the women coming here saying that they're looking for a man? See, that's why I know it's a bullshit lie. You can't be saying you're looking for a man in a space where most men feel like they're victimized. So you ain't gonna find no goddamn man in this space that you're looking for because all the men here already feel victimized. Why would why would I look for a man that's already feeling like he's wounded and already badgered down and shit? That makes no goddamn sense. So what has this space? Show me the catalog of men that have literally can put down the emblem that the Manosphere made me today, the successful black man of a household and of my community today.
You won't find it.
So
You
then
won't find it.
you definitely ain't gonna find no black woman or no woman if you ain't made no man. And that was if the main function of the machine was to make a man find his way, then how the hell you gonna help a woman find a way? You see how that's why I be like, goddamn, what kind of church is this? Who you saving? You ain't saving a goddamn thing.
It's got a point.
You mean SYMBM, SYSBM, that type?
Huh?
The Save Yourself Black Man, SY Save Yourself.
What is SYSBM? What about them?
I don't believe in that.
That's what they're talking about. They're saving themselves.
I mean, if I may, so that's that's just a colorful pamphlet that I think is floated around. Listen, I don't, and it's just me. I don't need an acronym to describe how I live my life productively on my own, using what BMT just said as a foundation and a springboard. You won't find anyone in this collective of what, like, BMT put the question out. You won't. I haven't seen it yet. Because if there was somebody like that, they would be in a different stratosphere of the entire segment, and they will be running in a totally different direction. So with, save yourself, black man, I think that's men kind of blowing the horn out to men to try to say, hey, wake up, dummy, get your act together, take care of yourself, but the whole I'm SYSBM, or how come you don't have a girlfriend? Or how come you're not doing this? Well, I'm SYSBM. Well, what's that? Well, it's save yourself, black man. Save myself from what? What do I need to save myself from what?
From black women. According to them, it's from black women.
No, it's I don't need to save myself from black women because I have enough common sense to know all black women ain't fucked up. Save myself from making stupid ass moves. But SYSBM and the tenets and the artifacts and the powers of the fifth SYSBM tenet, the fuck out of here. I mean, if I put it this way, if guys need leadership and they need I guess some type, I guess you would call it, Darrell, a construct to discipline themselves. Okay, hey, more power to you, my brother. Good luck with that. I hope it works for you. And when you look up later, hey, looks like that SYSBM lifestyle, though, that book you reading with them wooden scriptures on it working for you. You eating paper, or you eating corn, or you drinking air, or whatever is working for you. But I'm with BMT. Safe space. Safe space from who? As long as nobody ain't coming into my house, I'm not worried about nobody I'm talking to, observing or looking at through a mobile phone that I can just turn the app off and go do something else and check stocks or uh, you know, listen to some music. Who do I need a safe space from to hide online? You know,
Well,
BMT at the point. And I'm just like, I think that's why I disagree with, it's not disagreement against you, Chaos, but nobody needs to go into two separate corners and go figure something out and come back. No, at the end of the day, men and or women that I don't have a preference for whatever reason, or I don't want to deal with them, I just simply don't engage them. I don't deal with them. It's not rocket science, And if men are looking for women on YouTube, okay, say I'm looking for a woman. If women are looking for men on YouTube and in these spaces through the various conversations, just say so.
Hey,
It-
they won't.
aren't you the IT man from NYC Cyberline? You're familiar.
yeah, that's me. I'm just a guy who loves science, but my life career is technology and science. Yes,
Okay. Okay. Welcome back. I haven't seen you in a while.
been away for a while.
So
You know, I have you on my podcast one of these days, Cyber. I gotta get email for real, bro. Yeah.
Okay.
I did some on
All right.
technology. But who's saying something? Somebody saying something?
Yeah, I was going to say in regards to SYSBM. Now, that's not the only group.
Right.
There's other groups. We have other factions like Ipmore and guys like that have said certain things that's quite similar. Um, they have similar tenets and talking points and so forth. You got the MGTOW brothers, guys like that who have similar sentiments. And so, but my thing is that, and the purpose of this show is that even in SYSBM spaces, you have women there. Matter of fact, since you talked about Jessica X, she made her platform off of people who are actually SYSBM practitioners.
Okay.
That's her main group. That's actually the foundation of her platform. Most of those guys are Manosphere 3.0 and SYSBM and etc. And there are women there. There are women. And that same particular person herself called Kevin's show to seek validation.
Did
I
she?
remember that.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, she did.
I didn't know
Huh?
That was months ago.
Yeah, she did that about 3 months, about 3 months ago.
I think it might be 4.
Matter of fact, she did a whole segment with him for about what, 45 minutes, BMT, something like this, about 35, 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And the replay of the of that whole segment,
that's strategic.
did pretty well.
Well, that right there, you telling me that information, my computer brain in quantum fashion immediately calculated and said, to me that sounds like a strategic play to cash that coin in later on down the line.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at that now because I didn't know that. But
Yes.
now that you told me that information, I mean, I don't need to go look at the tape. But if you said, she did a whole 45-minute segment.
Cyberline, you should. I would advise you to go look at it.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
even though even though I understand it's not something you want to do, but I would advise you to look at it because it gives a perspective. Her purpose of calling the show also gives a perspective of some of the type of women who are in that space, because there are women in this space looking for guys to date.
So I'm curious, what and because you recommended it, I think I'm gonna take that wisdom and do so. But I'm like, well, that's strange because if I and just again not picking on her, but just using her as extrapolation as example, I see I've seen her movements, and I've seen the trail that she's made around different areas of the cosmos and in this space, and the battles and the conversations and the interactions and the entanglements. I've seen all these, and to have it brought full circle for you guys to tell me this information, and then to notice that I always wondered why she's doing the replays. Obviously, a capitalistic thing, but to tell me that she did a 45-minute ordeal and then rebroadcasted it, and then come now, where I've seen Kevin pull up in her chats a few times. I'm like, that's interesting. And before she was moving a certain way, now she's moving differently, and now it kind of seems like she's taking the baton and running with it, and just running. And you got a lot of guys running behind her, just to keep it real, not being mean and not being funny. They're running behind her for whatever reason. I don't know what they're looking for, but you know, that's interesting, and that tells me that, hey, I have an opportunity to exploit, get something out of it that I want. So I'm gonna put on a jersey. I'm gonna cut my hair, and I'm gonna fit in line with the guys, and I'm gonna play until the coach calls me out and says, "Hey, I need for you to get up under that weight and go ahead and bench them 300 pounds, or I need for you to run this court, 7 times in 35 seconds before we shake the tree and cut you because you're not supposed to be here."
But
You know?
the thing about the thing about it, listen, again, now that some of these people don't learn, it's not in the behest of building up. Because mind you, the main thing was about, God dang it, about family court. But it was never about fixing the family. It was about the gripes of certain people and their narratives. I remember with Tommy talking about how certain bed wenches got him. Okay. But then if you check, Tommy's still sleeping with them same type of women. The same women that he talked about. Hell, he done made a whole nother baby.
Mm-hmm.
So he done made a whole baby with the same type of woman
That he complains about.
that he complained about.
He made
Hell,
another child.
Yeah, he had another child.
When?
What's that? Does that make that 8 now?
No, well, I'm gonna leave it. We ain't gonna
Wait a minute, Bill. When did he have a child with who?
Tommy, listen, Tommy got 2 baby mamas now. Like, God dang it, this man ain't slowing down.
I know he had. I know his
that,
2
man.
oldest kids.
See, a woman came out and met him in one of his travels and said, "You got a baby with me." And guess what? Now he got another dark skinned baby, even though he be making fun of dark skinned kids and shit, or dark skinned people. But nigga, you reap what you sow. But however, the women that come to Tommy's channel, Tommy's biggest selectors of his channel are not men; they're women. That's
Of
a fact.
course. Can women gravitate by that?
But who does Tommy mainly bash on? Are
Dark
women.
skinned black women.
But who predominantly watches Tommy?
Dark skinned black women.
Women.
Okay, no, we got. No,
Well, you can that
I'm showing y'all
And,
the
and white
correlation.
people too. There's a lot of white people watch Tommy too.
the white racist people, they like it because he's making fun of. See, whenever he says shit about white people, they get angry. They flag the shit out of him.
Mhm.
But so long as, oh no, when white people want to dox Tommy, they dox him good. Oh, that's the thing about that. I'm letting y'all Negroes know right now. Y'all ain't gonna never attack that white daddy.
What do you
Y'all,
mean? So they do the SWAT doxing like how they
no,
did with Tariq?
they did it. They like to put out all your business. They like to make it harder for you. They'll kick you off their platforms. They'll dox your channel. And that's the thing about Tommy. He tried to step into that type of world, but they done niggified him to where, listen, you stick to black, dark skinned women and shit. You make fun of them. You don't ever talk about white people. So that's why, see, white people will find him talking about bashing black women and the black community, but they find that funny. Most women, see, you can be black and still be racist against your own people. You can be black and still be racist. I may not believe that, but you can be. Some people say no, it's not possible, but it actually is. And so what you got is some of these people have angst against black people or black women for shit that would either out of their control or some type of gripe that they themselves have not gotten over. So they take it out on any and anything. Like it's like that Kill Bill shit. Wherever she would see somebody, she starts getting triggered. The same thing will go on, and I would see it whenever it would come on panels or certain stuff. These same people, they would get triggered, and I was like, "Well, damn, dude, what just happened? You heard that? You saw what happened at that doggone at that party? Remember D? We were just at the party, we were just chilling. You know, we
Oh
were
yeah,
just chilling and
the slumber
relaxing.
party.
But they could not control themselves. Mind you, there was no animosity, but you saw it come out of them. They could not control themselves around that black woman.
Wow.
And so that proved that dang, if you like this on social media, while we here sipping and listening to music and singing and cracking jokes, how are you in public around this group of people? How are you at your job? See, that's why you got to listen to a lot of these people when they be talking about jobs. No offense, cyber. When they start talking about most of the jobs that they trying to tell you to go get are jobs that deal with what? Isolation.
Yep,
Right.
take
Right.
jobs.
Right.
I listen. I peeped the game.
They deal with what?
So because these jobs deal with isolation, and you're not dealing or literally actually interacting
With a lot of people.
So what happens? You start your social aptitude of dealing with men and women. It sucks. It do because that's why when you listen to people, oh, get into this field, go get into that, get in that. But you
The
notice
STEM
like,
fields.
yep, all these fields, and they're like you know you can make money doing this, but you're not around people. But then when you look at their lifestyle of how they live, you notice that one they don't have an aptitude of reality of dealing with people. It's always on the negativity. It's always in the digital world. And so when you start
It's
talking to them like,
antisocial behavior.
right,
But that's
you know
what it
what I'm
boils
saying?
down to. That's the danger of this digital technology we are now, because it creates more and harbors more antisocial people.
But hell, the goddamn person that work at McDonald's is more social than most of these people. Shit,
Oh yeah.
that's why I say when you listen to sometimes some of these women like to listen to misery. They like to hear miserable people, but it makes them feel good that I'm hearing a man that's way more miserable than me. This man, he got it better, good like that, but he don't. And I know a female, she likes to listen to this space because she gets to hear men be miserable.
Wow.
Well, I mean, who want to? Listen, I'm not gonna go to a channel where I hear everybody winning and making money and feeling blessed and shit. I want to go. What sells better than anything? Drama, anger,
Of
hatred.
course, because as a sign of mental illness, BMT, even me with my channel, I don't focus on it per se, but I've noticed when I put stuff that you could get out of or potentially might put you in position, it rarely gets any notice. But imagine I talk about this black chick or anything of this community. Now I'm seeing buzzes. I'm seeing looks. I see people comment. And it tells you, are we progressing for destruction, negative energy, negative all day, every day?
Well,
Because that's not healthy.
well, it's not a we. It's you're looking at a micro group. It's like you ever heard of a book called My Kampf?
Never heard of that.
Imagine you're seeing certain people when you hang around negativity, and I D can talk about this. You hang around negative people long enough, you start to become just like what you're hanging around. You
Yep.
start to portray that type of energy.
On their mannerisms and so forth, you start picking up on their behaviors and you start mimicking them.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
that's what a
you,
lot of them got. That's what a lot of these people they got inner demons. They got them. They got them. They got them bad. And so I passed the mic, but like I said, that's why I started pulling back, man.
That's excellent, excellent, excellent. I'm not sure if you have any response to that, Deidre, because you're more of a therapist, so I'm not sure if there's anything from your knowledge or understanding about mental illness you could elaborate, if possible. Deidre.
well, I'm gonna say this. When we look at certain attributes of their behavior and their personality, the dangerous thing that we look at is that these behaviors were learned over time. These behaviors were developed. The negative thing, the most dangerous part about the manosphere and sectors like this, or men groups that have these types of red pill ideology, is that when they are socializing among other men, it gives them a false sense of reality of the way the world is. And it's kind of like what this reminds me of a little bit, and I hate to use this example. And this is one reason why I don't work in this particular section of counseling or mental health that much.
Okay.
It reminds me of an AA meeting. And I'm a person that I'm not a big fan of AA at all. I've never been.
And
Yes,
define that what AA means. AA means that's
Alcohol Anonymous
okay.
meetings
Okay.
where you have a group of people who all have a problem, even though they have admitted that they have a problem. There are people who go to AA and sit there and listen to people say some of the most horrific stories you'll ever hear.
Mm.
I know because I've been there, and part of my studies and training, I sat in some of these AA meetings and internship, and I've seen the stuff that these people would say. And what you would get is people who would constantly talk about their bouts with alcohol or drugs or both. And and then there'd be another person who would give a worse story, and another person that would come up with a story. And um you would think there's some sense of upliftment, but sometimes when you watch for those that are not being facilitated properly,
Mm-hmm.
all you're basically hearing is people listening to other people talk about all of the devastating things that they did to other people behind alcohol and drugs. And they repeat this several times a day or every day, the same people saying the same stuff over and over and over. And in this space, I mean, BMT's been here as long as I have, or not longer. The content has not changed.
Wow.
I came into this space in 2016, really 2015, a little bit, but mainly
Okay.
I watched it consistently 2016. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The content has not changed at all. And
But do you expect it to change? To be honest with you, if we want to keep 100, do you really
well,
expect
it should change. It should change. It should change, or it should have a variety of different. It should be more versatile. It should have a variety. And it's not to say that you shouldn't talk about women all the time, but it
Mm-hmm.
also should have
Agree.
spec's other things along the way. And O'Shea attempted, shout out to my little nephew, he attempted to do that with bringing different types of people. Matter of fact, to be honest with you, O'Shea probably brought in more women to this sect than anybody.
I would not be surprised because he has certain charisma himself to draw not only males but women. I would come here
Yeah.
because he's very funny. He's
And
very
to be
funny
honest,
dude.
But what happened when he did it? Now hold on. Now you brought up some. What happened when he did it? What did the men do to O'Shea when he started bringing in women? What did
Oh, I heard they
they started
demonized.
tripping about it.
exactly? They called him
But
sellout
particular,
and all kind of stuff. Go ahead,
but
brother.
to me,
But BFT, before you say something, don't you find that very homoerotic in a way to be trying to push out women if women want to listen in? Don't you find it a little odd?
Well,
I'm just saying. I had to throw that out there, but you know.
it's it's
I
a
know it's rough. It's rough. I had to ask that. I had to ask that.
no
For
no.
real.
Okay, so here's the thing, buddy. It's counterproductive of the mission statement goal of what we were setting out to do.
Okay.
And so it's counterproductive. In other words, don't wake us up from the nightmare. That's honestly it's honestly where it was tipping over to.
Mm-hmm.
Because why would I spit down if one of y'all is about to get into a relationship? And let's be honest, there's not that I can say I'm one of the few, and I can probably count on my hand that actually cams up my family.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about that, and I get the remarks, but see, I live in reality from a lot of these women and men. They live in misery, in hell. That for the women, they'll say, "I feel bad for the woman." That's what BMT. Okay, cool. But yet you're on YouTube looking for a man.
and you married.
Right. And then you'll hear the men saying, I don't know why you're with a woman. You know, she's gonna take everything you got. But then on the next stream over, and I got nothing against it, they'll talk about the joy and the enjoyment of tricking. But watch out for these women. But they'll talk about tricking. And I'll be like, well shit, choose your poison, motherfucker. Like, choose your poison. Like, I don't get y'all. You talk about patriarchy. You're talking about being in the home. You talk about rulership. You talk about
Mm-hmm.
the good. I swear, I've never heard so much people like talk about the good old days back when the man was in the home. But I'm like, well, motherfucker, I'm doing that. So why ain't you? Why are you sweating me when I'm doing that? Why are you talking about when black men were in authority and I am a black man in some form of authority? But it's never good enough. And then the women will shoot at that and say, that's dusty. She could have done better. She's doing this. But I'm like, then why are you online talking to a YouTube daddy
ET,
on how to be a woman?
your mic is echoing pretty bad. Just let you know,
Hold
brother.
on, and there you go. So you have it where women are coming online searching for how to be effeminate, what blows my mind. A 30-plus-year-old woman trying to learn how to still be effeminate. I don't know if you coming online asking. I would never I would never get online and ask a man. I would never get online and ask a woman how to be masculine. You catch the play now. You will never get online and ask a woman will never get online and ask a man how do I be masculine. You know, a lot of these women. I'm sorry, if you listen to their content enough and you listen to their yes man, the men that agree with them, these women have a lot of demons, a lot. So
And
they like to get together in their powder rooms and talk about about these men that they could not conquer.
Mm-hmm. Or they
The
can't
daddy,
control, really.
yes. So the daddy or the brother or the uncle or whoever that man was that they could not conquer or they couldn't step to, this is where they can do it on cyberspace. Cyberspace, I can step to D. Because I have a safe safe distance from him.
Mm.
I can say what I want to say, but it's not good enough. But it's good enough for me. Yeah, we told him, sis. We told D Direct. Yeah, on our panel, we had 400 views agreeing that, you know what, we told them men. And y'all sisters, y'all need to follow us. You see how those men are? You see that? No, you want that reinforcement to believe that shit. That's why I always listen when I hear these women say, these black men don't uplift us. And I'll be like, well, shit, what black man you trying to get to uplift you? What black man? Who you talking to? Shit, I don't see y'all asses at Walmart with me. Who's running around snatching y'all hair off and shit and beating y'all and chasing y'all and smacking y'all? Like, I get it. There are all those videos out there. But I'm sorry to tell you, the narratives are hyped up. Just like these political agendas, these gender agendas are very well heightened. So,
And they're not true.
exactly. So they're going to attack. They don't want to look at the people that are living their lives, that are getting married, that are actually forming conducive relationships as men and women and friends, lovers, marriages. They don't want to see that kind of shit. That's not what they want to hear.
Well, it's not what they want to see, but it's not really sexy. That's what a lot of people they fight against, especially the men. About getting married, say, well, if I get married, she's gonna take half my shit. Well, if you're not making money, you don't have to worry about taking half your shit.
But what is half of nothing?
I have no idea, D. Darrell. I mean, it seems to me like a lot of dudes are they really are like they got money like that.
They don't.
They don't.
My thing is this, man. What they don't understand, and this is something that I'm gonna in 2021, I'm gonna start doing more content on why the hell is the Manosphere and other content creators using athletes, actors, entertainers, rappers as a example of what black relationships are in our community. Those people at that level, those relationships do not function like the typical black person, everyday black person in our community. I'm sorry. Like the other day, I heard people trying to use Will Smith. They love to use Will Smith and Jada as the example of certain types of functionality of a black man and a black woman having a power struggle of the relationship and who's doing what and how the finances influence. And I'm like, wait a minute, you Negroes, how can you don't even interact with people on that level? You don't know what these people go through. I was listening to Femininity Background Breakdown with Sister George and Concrete, and you had you had guys saying all kind of statements and using Will Smith and Jada and other. I'm like, why are people using T.I.? Why are we talking about T.I. when it comes to fatherhood? Why are we using the City Girls as examples of thoughts? Why I'm sorry. Why are we talking about Sierra and
Russell Westbrook? Russell
Westbrook. I mean, whatever.
Russell Wilson. Sorry, Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson,
Yeah.
and the interaction of you can't relate to them. You don't operate in those type of circles. You don't have the fame that they have, the money. You can't
the problems they come with.
Yeah, the problems and the lack of privacy and everything else why are we using these people? Why are they not using everyday black people who make between $30,000 and $70,000 a year,
or 40 and 70?
Yeah, or whatever. I'm just saying. I'm just using that range. Okay,
I'm gonna give you an answer why that is because.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Why can't we use people like that? Why can't we use examples of different instances of failed relationships between everyday black people that represent the majority of black people in this community. They want to live vicariously through people that have achieved success and notoriety that you will never get, and say, oh wow, this black woman trying to take half of what you got. It's the difference between you talking about half of what you got or half of what you have as your wealth when you have $5 million as opposed to somebody that got $500 to their name. Having this discussion. I'm sorry. You should not be having this discussion on what taking 50 from anybody. I'm sorry.
But
Man,
let's say
you should not even be speaking on entitlements.
all
When
right.
you don't even have enough money for a woman to even look at you in such a way. You ain't even level up. This is what is flat is to me just I get flabbergasted at these talks of people and let's look at the latest one, Kobe Bryant's wife. Okay, now you got people talking about the fact Kobe did this and the wife and the mom suing her for $5 million. I'm like,
ain't nobody give a fuck about that, man.
but I'm just saying, but people looking at this. Well, you see how how this woman did him, and this and took the money, and now she got to deal with her mom, and her mom feminist and feminism. I'm like, guys, y'all cannot relate to having Kobe Bryant left his family what $400 million.
No, more than that. With the insurance, it's like estimate almost $1 billion.
Okay, almost $1 billion. Who the hell can relate to that in our community? Who can relate to that? Who can relate to you buying your mother-in-law a $500,000 house or helping her get out of bankruptcy and stuff? You didn't spend millions of dollars on pacifying and enabling this woman. Who can relate to that? I'm not talking about the fact that you mad at your wife or your girl that that you with your mom asking for $200 or $300 to help her with the rent every now and then. That ain't the same thing. But these guys get on there and use those things as the examples. But another thing I want to point out, I'm gonna go to chaos right now. How come they don't talk about the functional relationships that occur? There are a lot of functional black relationships that nobody ever talks about. They just let that go. It's like we pretend those things don't exist. But we'll do tons and tons of content on relationships that are having difficulty. But we won't talk about Denzel and his wife. We won't talk about Bill Cosby. Even his wife has stood through him through the thick and thin. How come nobody's talking about Chameleon as being an example of black women? Nobody talks about that.
Positivity don't sell, D. Positivity does not sell, man. That's why I be listening to all these dating and bullshit, man. They don't sell, man.
But let's be fair, honest. Those are good questions you asked. But let's be honest. Why are black people still absorbing and taking time out of the day and focusing and living vicariously of celebrities? The answer is simple: because you're controlled by what you see on the television. If any person makes sense, you got to take a point in your life, depending on what age you are, to really, in my mind, this is probably good advice to anybody. You have to unplug completely. When I mean unplug, I'm not talking about this in it. I mean unplug completely. Because what has happened, people are conditioning to live, like I said, vicariously by other people that you are not going to live that type of life, what they have lived, even in your own lifetime, if you live that long. To represent that this is black people of America, people that are making $1 million or more. And I'm looking at it as insanity. We don't really respect the people that are the entrepreneurs that have jobs here, that are black, or anybody that's doing some constructive to be the represent of the everyday person in America as black. Because be honest with you, it's not appealing, it's not sex because we want to live more than a Jones. We want to live like a superstar, a rock star. So when you put an image of a black man that has the money, right? And he's still doing ratchet stuff, he is the representation of all black men of America. Same with women. When you see act a mess, want to fight through love and hip hop, all those special TV shows, that is representation of all black women. Because we live through the television and we put what we see in media into our own realities. And this is the everyday
And
black
that's
man,
the
black woman.
problem.
It
Well,
is a problem.
the thing,
And you know what that's called? It's called identification.
But you just said it. See, black people still try to find ways to identify oneself. You see that? There you go. You answer your own question. So that means most of us that grew and we raised, we're still self-identifying oneself. We don't know our goddamn self. We refuse to really understand and study ourselves. We want to live by others and say this is us, and that is bullshit. You know, I don't
So
live like that as
what
as an older black man, and I can't afford even at my age now, even years before I even got what we call quote unquote conscious. I couldn't live by that. I had to come back to reality, one way or the other. But the average person, man and woman today, D. Darrell, and you counsel them, you when you hear them talk, how they express their problems, it's like watching a fucking TV show, right?
some of them, yeah, I would agree.
There you go. Why? Because they've been conditioned by television too much, and a lot of black men will use that as weapon for the black community. That's when you hear these stupid niggas talking about say there's crime, all this that. Most of the time, it depends where they live. Say most of y'all never even seen people get their head splattered in your life. You talking about crime? I ain't never seen somebody get killed in front of me yet. You know what I'm saying? And I live around black people. To be fair and honest, not saying it don't exist, but until you see some real shit like that, and I'm talking about real shit, don't tell me bullshit. Most of the people that got money and they got good, if they say they got good, they don't live around black people. Let's keep D Darrell. I ask most black people, how many of you niggas live around a neighborhood or an environment where there's black people, more black people than non-black people? I'll wait. They'll give honest say no. So see, you're not even connected. You're not around black people enough.
I think that it has to really do with the need to belong. Um, I myself, and you gentlemen answered and mentioned those questions very well. But however, the flip side of that coin, the other side, is the side of normalcy. And, it kind of goes back to the reason that normal behavior, normal instinct, and so forth among people who have an overwhelming need to belong to the group see the normal behavior as an impediment, as something wrong. Because, see, the crowd that where there's the flashing lights, the overwhelming urge to belong, the crowd doesn't value that. The crowd values the acknowledgement of more volumes of people who acknowledge, no matter what it is. And so we know things are normal. Like I myself, I don't, I don't, I'm doing all right, but I don't, I mean, I can tell you this much. If my fortune were to change into like $1 billion,
Mm-hmm.
I would be the most freewheeling person running around. I would pretty much be like a modern day Robin Hood handing out Halloween candy. I would be any place that I could fly to or reach, physically possible, giving out food, building shelter, doing as best as I could. And I'm somewhat of an introvert, but an extrovert at the same time. So would I have things that I'm comfortable with, that I like, that are personal luxuries? Yes. But me personally, as you guys said, common sense. I don't want to be, I don't want to be in the limelight. And if you think about it, there's really a barrier that doesn't get talked about with the people that we just mentioned. Um, because in order to be around people who are in the limelight, you have to be accepted. And if you're too normal, if you're too sensible, most people in the limelight are going to reject you. They're going to cast you out. They're going to kick you out. You can't be a part of the club because part of the club, the rules are we have to accept you. You have to be validated. And part of that validation means you have to do stuff that you probably otherwise would find questionable, or you would find, no, people don't do this shit. This is crazy. But they want you to do it because that's what they're on. They're all like-minded people, but they're all like-minded people who have some shit that's kind of crazy about them, but they're all like-minded.
Yep. Very
And
eccentric. What you're saying, what
right,
you basically say, they have some eccentric type behaviors.
yes, and because they're all grouped together and they have material things that people want, you see, people look at the object as opposed to the person running with some type of intention. And this chick said it real good. She kind of said something what Chaos Rain said, but she said it a different way. Um, Basically, for black folks, they're down to disagree to the point. There's places where black folks, a bunch of black people live, and they live harmoniously. There's no bullshit. There's no problems. They govern their environment. And if you're the type of person coming in bringing bullshit to that community, you're going to be out of there. They're not, they're going to set it up, fix it up. They'll buy up the property so you can't move in. It's a couple places like that, and they got it going on, and it's not dysfunctional as fuck. But the 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 chick yesterday said black people, most of us, the problem is that we've consumed so much entertainment in our daily diet of life that over a long period of time, we've it has poisoned us to the point where for black people, most everybody consumes entertainment. But if you think about it, bl- black people on, by and far have made that entertainment into a personal lifestyle, and most of us can't shake out of it. And those of us who aren't entertainment driven, we don't live life like fucking, housewives of Atlanta, or husbands of housewives of Atlanta, or husbands of, the whoever, the every rapper or R&B singer or some entertainment or sports person. For those of us who function within the realm of society in a normal facet, even if we're successful or high society, there's a difference between us and other black folks who have this entertainment identity about them. We're cool, we're hip. And if you notice, it always connects back to some type of aspect of fucking entertainment, some way, somehow.
Yep.
And that's why the educated lame gets called the educated lame. Have you ever heard of an educated lame who's in the entertainment industry? No, it doesn't apply to them because they're cool, they're hip. And black folks throughout the years have made entertainment and identity, and they can't shake it. They can't separate from it. So now they're trapped. And men like us who are speaking this type of thing, it's foolishness and nonsense to them because the identity has been passed down and has been ingrained and has permeated for generations of people who have gone head first into it. They've passed it down to the way that they raise their sons, to the way that they raise their daughters, to the generations that see shit on TV. It's almost like the black generations are a hip hop type of generation. It's hip hop, hip hop, hip hop, or
Yep.
entertainment, entertainment, entertainment. It's ingrained in their identity. But you don't see Asian kids coming into colleges, universities. You don't see these Indians coming into colleges, universities, these Arabs, these Polish peoples, these Russians coming from places where they got fucking bombs or they eating roaches and shit, or, there's no offense to them, where they have harsh conditions. They're not coming into America where there's opportunity to be capitalized on. They're not coming in with hip hop entertainment identities. They're coming in with identities that are solely focused on capitalizing on opportunities. And guess what? Black people have an identity of entertainment. So we're going to just cash into that because everything about them, part of what's about them is entertainment based. So we can find a sweet spot with them and keep them wrapped up in that identity of entertainment. They'll never break out of the loop. That's what it is. And it's become DNA. And some of us don't have that DNA, or some of us were smart enough not not to drink the Kool-Aid, or not to take that particular vaccine of entertainment, so that it becomes an identity later down the line. And we're looked at differently than most other black folks whose DNA has metamorphed into an entertainment of identity.
I agree. And the thing about it is this whole thing about educated lame, which I hate that term, because my thing is, what is lame about being educated? And I it is to me and somewhat disheartening in that everything that we as a people, as far as us doing certain things that can actually contribute to us progressing or improving ourselves, that is looked upon as being lame. And education and educating oneself is the hallmark, is fundamental in any group of people improving themselves. And why would you even coin the term educated lame? That nothing's lame about education. Should be cool. It should be something that you are, looked upon in a very positive manner. And to me, we have a crisis going on in Black America that is not talked enough in Black YouTube or the Manosphere itself. And what we're finding is that the Black man is becoming invisible in all of the high level industry jobs and positions, in education, and even in Black colleges. You're going to see far more Black men in these spaces. I mean, far more Black women than Black men. I saw that when I was in school, particularly undergrad and then my graduate degree, especially my graduate degree. I don't think I was never in a class that had more than 2 Black men. And to sit here and talk about educated lane, and we don't have enough of us being in spaces and obtaining education in areas where we need to be proficient and having a presence and so forth. And that to me is one of the fundamental complaints about a lot of Black women, particularly those who have obtained certain levels of education and success, is that they really don't. They want black men. They want to see black men of their equal or greater, and that's
Well,
that. You said what?
they want to see black men in certain space where they're at, either by numbers, which black men are in college. We ain't gonna go into that. They just
Yeah,
want
they
to
are.
see, they want to see him do, not only be there, but do well.
Yeah.
Do the
No, 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 no. Time
yeah,
out.
yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you why no.
Okay.
I went to school in the South, um, and played for a show marching band. And I have to be honest. I went to HBCU. I have to be honest.
Me
You
too.
know, and when I was going to college, and this may sound as a strike against
Okay.
black women. I'm gonna just keep it real because I went to UC. Because I'm from Ohio originally. Well, I actually went back to Ohio when I transferred from down south. But black women who, the ones that weren't partying, were too busy with school to be
Okay.
looking for men in the first place.
Okay.
The other women, including black women who were partying, were not looking for a D. Durrell,
Okay.
majoring in psychology, planning out his future. They were not looking for me. They weren't looking for you if you went to school. They weren't looking for the computer programmer. They weren't looking for the business major. Some of them might have been. They weren't looking for those guys. They were looking for dudes to have fun with.
How old are you, Cyberline?
I'll be 42 in February.
Okay, we're
So,
around the same age. Okay, okay.
so, so,
Baby.
they, I saw it, and it was no different. And I went to three universities, but it was no, I ended up switching to three, but it
Mhm.
was no different from school to school to school. Even when I visited other schools, it was the same thing. There and the women who were looking for those types of dudes found them and pulled them off to the side and married them. This is what we don't talk about. This doesn't get talked about.
Oh, you mean like the 30% that went and have more than backstreet marrying out?
The women
Well,
who
at that age, I think, and I do agree with you on that, Cyberline. But I think at that age, I think there's an issue with a lot of black women who should be getting married, because when you look at the white community, a lot of white college students
But
get married in
oh yeah,
college,
yeah.
of
and
course,
and
because
and
they're
black,
socially engineered differently than us.
yeah,
No,
but black women have this sense of and to me the timeline doesn't work well with their biology, that I can have, like you said, they're dating, want to be with the guys who are all fun and all this other different stuff, right? And
Mhm.
then you find yourself 29, 30 years old with no children, or with children, no husband, and so forth, and not with the guy that you really would like to be with, that you could have actually found in college when you were actually 21, 20, 22 years old.
Yes.
And this whole thing about get the career, and then you can get these things later. Well, what we have now is a percentage of highly educated, successful black women who
With no
did that,
husband.
and now they are 35, 38, 40 years old with no husband, no boyfriend, and not wanted as much as they were wanted when they were in their 20s.
Mhm.
And then at this point, they're reflecting on that, and then they're blaming there's not enough good black men. No,
right.
I've always argued this fact. There are a lot of good black men. The problem is that we as a people, and particularly women, our women in our community, have fell into this love of indulging with a certain type of black man that does not exist,
Mhm.
and so forth. Or you're trying to reach this, have this overly exorbitant amount of criteria that one must meet, and then now you find yourself older and you're complaining. And see, the issue is that you're not looking at self, the self of the issue of the fact of I did not plan my life correctly, the fact that I made a mistake, and the fact that I passed up a lot of good men in my quest to reaching this success or whatever I have now. And now I'm at an age where it's difficult for me to find that type of man. And you know why? Because they're married at that point. Those
Let me
men
ask
are
a question,
married.
D-Rap.
So,
Oh, hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
These men that they're looking for, that's their age, they're married. The very guy that she should have looked at, that Cyberline talked about when she was a junior, senior in college, that she didn't want to be with, or she didn't think was fun or great enough, or whatever, for whatever reason, didn't have this or that attributes physically and so forth. Those guys are gone. And even the so-called guy that she felt was lame, he's married up too.
and
So
having
you
the ball, and
so
he's
so so,
having a blast. Him
oh,
and his
so you
family.
know what the where the pickings are. Now you're reduced, just like some of these women that call KS show. Now
Kevin
you're
Samuels. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I
now
hear it.
you're reduced to having to pick from guys that you don't want at the age of 40, that you once
Oh, we should be
valued
nice
at
in
the
the
age
in
of
the
20.
mid 30s. I don't want to say 40. I
so,
don't want
so
to be.
hold
Yeah,
on.
but they're of our ages. The guy that you wanted at 20, you don't want him at 40.
Yeah,
And the guy that you didn't want at 20, now you want him at 40.
So,
yeah.
so
So
okay.
okay, I want to say this
Mm.
before you say some BMT. Let me say this. So D Darrell, that sounds like accountability. I'm not sure if I want to say that around
Well,
here.
they should be. Well,
I
every
mean, okay,
adult should be
there's
accountable.
a problem saying that. This demonized using that word accountability. I hope you're aware of that, right? We should not be mentioning that around here to women that will be listening to this. Because now they say, "Oh, I should be holding myself accountable." I would say,
Yes.
"Yeah,
Yes.
yeah."
Don't care if it doesn't matter. It
So
doesn't
let
matter
me
how
ask.
you feel. Go ahead, BMT.
So
My bad.
okay. So if y'all saying that,
So hold on, I want to get go ahead, BMT, but I want to I want to give her perspective, but go ahead, BMT. Go ahead.
okay. So if y'all okay. So for those of y'all in y'all 40s, would it? So were y'all doing college like in the 90s? Was like around the era around the 90s?
Yeah,
Correct.
I was the mid
Okay.
90s to the early 2000s.
Okay. So y'all were doing college around the same time like my brothers and my
Yeah.
sister. All right.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at that time spirit, that time span. All right. So this is where now I'm starting to see the gap of where the disconnect, because the majority of people that are having the angst are in their mid 30s into their 50s. Okay. And so what you're looking at from this space is a collective of people from the children of the crack era and the heroin era, literally playing catch up. Okay. I'm just showing y'all. Like I said, I like to always do the correlation of it, because if you're in college, there wasn't a lot of black men that could really say that they went to college around them times like that. Yeah, I mean, we're just being fair. It's either you were going into the Navy, you were picking up some type of job, or you just were going there. Now the cream of the crop, or the men that either they had some type of support that was pushing them. You know what I'm saying? Girls had a system of either women, daddy, or a state funded federal system that was supporting them. The black man did not. He did not have a system. So it was unlikely, like how other cultures or other groups were, that were literally pushing that, hey, you see, you see Hamed, you see Bakor, you see Tim or Tommy or Lee, their cultures were not rippled of the same effect. This is where I'm giving some of the pushback on these things, because the women were getting the encouragement during the Bill Clinton era, telling you that black people go to college, but that was predominantly black women going to college. You did have black men going, but not like that in droves. More so, you had the Job Corps, you had woke rehab, different other types of stuff. Mind you, the prison complex was shooting up for black men. So if you was a black boy that did make it or did not get caught up, you were most likely saying, I'm going into the service or I'm pretty much getting divesting out of the community because there wasn't much at that time. So those men, I don't call them boys, those young men around your class, let's call it the cyber and D the rail class, some men stayed. That's fair to say. Some men stayed, D. You stayed. Other men either went into the service and left, or literally they went into a blue collar work and either started making children and other mistakes early with certain women that did not have a
Yep.
way. Okay. So what you're hearing is the repercussions of people, of the children of the 80s and the 70s. You're hearing the repercussions of those of that era of women that were, well, I was never taught to go look at a deed of realm. I was taught to look at a man that was already with his hands, because that was looked at as strength in that time. You would seen those commercials of the man, of the black man, not in college. That wasn't the imagery put out there. The imagery was a black man working, either doing some type of 12-hour shift or out there hustling on the beat.
Yep.
So that imagery was portrayed due to the malnourishment of the broken household to the female, that this was the go-to guy. This was daddy. This was the Rolling Stone, not the D. Darrell. See, the D. Darrell, that was something of a man who would have been that 12 or that 9 to 5 man. He would have took his son, D. Darrell, and said, listen, you got to get out of here, son. Nah, dad, I'll come work with you and help you pick up some out. No. You and see, there were black men that were telling D. Darrell's era, you need to get out. There's no you. I can't get you much higher because of what was set in front of us. And see, that's the men you're dealing with, the men that are coming from the after effect. And I don't know why I overlooked that. I might, damn it, I wish my channel wasn't on strike. But that's what we're put out. If you look at the age of the men that are talking, you look at the effect of what happened. These are the children of those effects. These are the children of the parents of Jim Crow, of doggone of the heroin and crack epidemic. I was born in the crack era, so I understood. Yes, my dad went to jail for doing dope, and guess what? I didn't always have my dad. I had my stepfather, and he was sometimes doped up. So yeah, I have my demons. But yet they work those type of jobs. So my ideology of how a man was in the home and how my sister saw a man are going to be totally different. So seeing a man in a dominatory force in the home was not ideal for a woman. But now that the woman is now getting older and she's seeing the other cultures of women, and she's seeing that, hey, I made it. Where's that man at the end of the tunnel that I was promised? I'm seeing the white man. The white woman, she's working a nice little job, wearing a blouse and everything, and she's coming home to a man with a suit. Where's my man at? All right, society beat your man. They
Yep.
beat him down. So that's why you're hearing the dust. Yeah, you're right. A lot of the men were thrown in the dust. We were thrown away. But we're seeing the blame where the men are saying, well, why did those women go in? Why did this happen? But see, they don't understand what happened that took place, especially for these boys. They say, well, the women, they got this and that and that. You hear these talking points. But understand, you had so many oppositions against you, black man. There was no way you could compete or keep up with that. It's like you're trying to run 100-yard dash, yet they started you on the other side of the track she only has to run straight. You got to get all the way on the other side and then get down that lane. There was no way. You was already started at a disadvantage. So now you hear the angst and the anger because everybody's still praising. She's still getting her praise for being strong, but she's like, yo, this is BS because I don't want to be a man. And the ones that say that they want to compete with a man, they finding out that the other men have no problem punching her in the face. And the men that we have today, they do not necessarily want to stand by that woman because of the resentment that was pitted against them for wanting to actually talk with that woman. So ultimately, listen, man, I'm capital. That's why I said I don't even know why women be coming to the manosphere because you're coming to a trauma center. There is no reason why any woman should ever be in the manosphere. There is nothing you could earnestly say that is going to reach these men. There's nothing. You are literally talking to survivors of the crack and heroin epidemic. And so when you're talking to these, it's like dealing with the children after a war. Them children from them generations are severely damaged. They will never live a fully functional life or relationship life because the views of a relationship in those eras are so jacked up and skewed. Why do you think they don't talk about, remember the relationships back then in the 60s and stuff? They don't talk about those. You know, they go all the way back to 50s, the 40s. Why? Because all the other their generation where they came from was hell on earth. So there's nothing that we can really they can have a connect to with a woman because that's why the main thing that they beat at is I wish I had a woman submit to me. Why? Because they grew up in a society of submission where they've always felt less than. So if they could feel that of something feel lesser than them, they will go for it because it gives them some type of recollection of power that they never actually got to see in a positivity of a home. So
It's a good
I
point.
wish I had my channel, man. I'll tell you right now, I gotta do this dog on top of later on. But yeah.
BMC, I didn't know you were strike. How long are you out? A month?
Nah, 2 weeks. Don't worry, they got me. They got me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I want to read this. I want to make a small comment. Then I'm going to go to Classic Ruby. Happy to have you here. Miami says, I don't see that. What usually happens is those men don't approach women, then complain. No one wants them, but that's just my experience. And I think what she's talking about is the guys that are coined the educated lame. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to disagree with that. What I will say is that the quote unquote educated lame, even though I don't like that particular name itself, I think it's an oxymoron label. I would admit those men were probably not as sociable as other guys that maybe have been less educated and so forth. But a lot of those guys were not perceived in our community, and even to this day, a lot of women don't perceive certain glamour, what can be deemed as glamour or high earning fields per se. And so if you're not in a field that such as an entertainment, or let's say something that they knew would probably you could be highly successful and earn a lot of money, albeit like if you were becoming a lawyer, doctor, engineer, someone in politics, and so something that had some level of social prestige, those types of men, and particularly in those areas, were deemed more attractive as opposed to somebody like myself who majored in psychology. Because to be honest with you, a lot of black people don't understand or don't look at counselors or psychologists and so forth. Number one, they don't know a lot about what they really actually do, and so on. But that was not deemed a more glamour or more attractive field to be in that a woman would initially be impressed upon. And so there are a great deal of guys that were in areas where they were highly successful, functional, and they were able to achieve, but those particular fields themselves were not looked upon as being more of the more attractive uh, um, fields that you could have some grasp of an outlook on the type of lifestyle that they would live, that as far as what you would want for yourself. So and I blame that a lot on again media that basically projects, pretty much conditions people to think and glamorize certain fields and so forth, certain professions over others. And at the end of the day, I think that I for particularly for this group of women now, the women now, I think that there should be a situation in which older women are in some way educating younger women not to make the same mistakes that they did when they were that age. What I'm saying is the same thing being replicated, in which these women are achieving and achieving success, and the higher success, the less they feel that they need a man. And that's somewhat problematic, because I provide therapy to highly successful, lonely black women all the time. And that these women are not, they may put on a facade as if they are happy, but in reality they're not. So I just wanted to kind of give that statement. But go ahead, Classic Ruby, your statements.
Okay, well, I think, and this isn't just for the women, it's for almost everyone inside this space. People are here for basically four basic underlying reasons, which are basically validation, attention, camaraderie, and distraction. And it doesn't matter what other reasons we pull from, they can all fit. If you break it down, they all fit into one of those four categories. Right? So why would women come into a space where they know that their opinions are disagreed with and they're going to get ripped to shreds and blah, blah, blah? Well, there's a couple ways that you could look at it. Number one, you have the women who think that they're going to be able to come in and be an exception. They're going to be able to fool the masses, or they're going to be able to do something about them is going to be special. They're going to be treated differently. They're going to be one of the rare few, which does what? Validates them. For those who know that they're not going to get that treatment, but they keep coming back for more, and they're good to sit there and be torn to shreds and to fight the good fight. Distraction, not knowing the difference between good attention and bad attention. I mean, it all works out to being one of these four things. Every time that you go and you really break down women, and I've done several across the world, women's retreats, where that's literally the point of these women's retreats, is to help women get to their deeper inner core, so that way they can, make some really necessary changes and go in a more positive direction in their lives, regardless of what it is that they want and need. You kind of see a deficiency in one of these four areas, if not most of these areas. And those deficiencies normally start somewhere in childhood or early adulthood. Someone or a bunch of things broke them down, took away their confidence, took away their joy, took away their concept of positive self-worth or self-esteem. And they need to fill that hole somehow, because that's what it is. They think life is a series of filling the hole, i.e. the distraction, rather than basically resolving it so that way you don't have a hole anymore. And that's why I said, I'm like, I wouldn't be a good person ultimately to come up here and give an actual answer from the women as far as like, hey, why do you come to the Manosphere? Because my reason for coming to the Manosphere ultimately was one of these four reasons. It was distraction, if anything, because I never would have made it here if I hadn't needed to be on medical leave from school. Because I was bored. I wanted to use my brain, and the Manosphere was the place that people wanted to talk about research and statistics and have actual debates without all the emotional stuff, because I'm not really good at the whole let's fight with emotions and talk about our feelings part of life. So yeah, I'm
Well,
not. I'm terrible.
that was their intent till I learned that they didn't know how to really read research correctly. But that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah,
Right, no.
that must
That
have
was
way
an
back in the day.
insightful.
That ain't no
Yeah.
man for 4
Yeah.
That was
years.
very insightful.
Yes.
I tried to teach them how to correctly read research, being that I've done several research studies, but when I found out if you don't fit that narrative, and when you want to participate in confirmation bias, that's no place for an intellectual conversation. So I had to under that understanding, I had to do away with getting involved in debates that they didn't understand the topic. So I just had to weed myself away from people that thought they understood what a research study is, but all you're
Oh,
looking at is
I know.
and what you're reading is raw numbers, and you're not looking at the limitations of the study. You're not looking at the methodology. You didn't even read the abstract, but you want to understand research. Okay, so I had to do away
Yeah.
with
No, and I totally get that. And to be fair, right, as BMT said, I am talking about way back. That's what brought me to the Manosphere. And things
yeah.
were a lot more factual back in those days. Like you could not have had an opinion without having research or statistics to back up what you were saying. You were not allowed to come in with personal stories to support your point, right? That was their whole beef with women. That's what they wanted to do. Like, where's your research? Where's your facts? Where's your stats? So you would actually be shocked to know that I actually went in there and did win debates, because it really was about the facts and the research, and I had it because I went to one of the top research schools in the world. They like most of my classes, and I'm talking about in undergrad, taught from the research studies. They didn't teach from textbooks. So in essence, that's like literally like your psych 101, and your everything is coming straight from the research, plus I've conducted research myself. And so, sitting there and needing to take several statistics courses, I own SPSS at home and yes, know how to use it. I understand,
Yeah.
analyzing variance, the difference between correlation. So I totally get your issue. A lot of people
I
don't
had
know
that.
how to read research.
And I tried to tell them they don't know what standard error of estimate is. They didn't understand any of this stuff. They didn't know what standard deviation, but you want to have a discussion on research. I'm like, you're not qualified to have this discussion with me if you don't know how to read research.
No,
And
and that's so true. And you know what? I've always wanted to, and it was gonna be what I was gonna do, and then I slowed down on making videos almost to a complete stop. But what I was gonna do is I was gonna go into Google Scholar, which anyone could access, show people which one of the free articles. You don't even need to be in an institution to read in full, and then basically start at 101 where they started with us and show them this is what you're looking for. This is what this section means. This is what this section means.
yes,
Notice how they are not actually, like in research, a lot of people think that you come up with a hypothesis that you try to prove true. And it's like, no, you
no, you
have a
test
hypothesis, but you're testing
and
against the null hypothesis that there's going to be no difference. So like you go in with the assumption that there's going to be no difference, and then any type of difference you see, you try to analyze why it is that that's there, but it's not proof of anything. We don't have proof from research. Like we just have more questions that we need to answer with more research, right? Like they don't
I tried to explain to them you cannot debate research thinking that the research itself reflects a fact. What
right.
the research does is reflects the variables that contribute to a certain outcome, the probability of certain things happening, and the factors. Just because you read 2 or 3 research studies that showed that they show a higher percentage of, let's say, black women marrying out and marrying a certain, that doesn't mean that that's going to happen the majority of the time. What they're saying is that when that happens, these are the contributing factors that lead to that. And but you
Right.
can't have that discussion.
But you
I
know what's
have people.
actually crazy? A big one, and I have this argument all the time, because there's that whole the statistic about how crime and basically just generally being a degenerate and whatever is highly associated with being black. And I'm like, well, that's because the research that you're reading doesn't control for other variables like poverty. When they control for the variable of poverty, there isn't a significant difference between all of the races in America in general, across the board. There's no difference.
It sure
So
isn't.
therefore, poverty is the main factor in crime and other types of degeneracy. But people
Yeah,
don't want to hear that because they saw
poverty,
this one
and
study that
yeah,
didn't compare that. And it's like,
yeah.
do you not get that? Like, do you not get that every research study, even saying with the poverty thing, there might be other variables that are even more like heavily correlated, but we didn't control for those yet to know for sure that that's the thing in poverty that actually determines criminality, right? Like
Yeah.
they don't understand. So you try to get them to see what you're saying, and all you can do is hope that you reach 1 out of 100, because you do reach some people.
Yeah, you
They
do.
won't say in the chat, but they'll
Yeah.
maybe they'll email you eventually, or one day you'll just notice they happen to support things that you say very quietly in the chat room. Or like, you can't reach everyone because sometimes you're speaking over people's heads, or they think that you're bastardizing stuff even though they don't realize it's the other way around. And it's like, no, I kind of know how to read this better than you. I'm actually trying to be helpful. I'm not just trying to be right. I'm trying to tell you why it is that you don't have all the information. But you know what, in the Manosphere, they have their defenses up because that's what it is. It's like this royal rumble of people walking in going, I'm here to debunk you. I'm here to prove why you're wrong. I'm here to slap you down. And they all do it to each other. They do it to outside people. And so everyone's got their hackles up. So how do you learn and grow and expand your mind when all you're willing to hear is your echo chamber, and anything outside of that, you're just there to debunk it, even if you don't understand it? Like,
And
I
that's
don't know.
the reason why I no longer debate at all with anyone. I no longer go to. I mean, number one, when I was doing the debates, I thought it was more entertainment than than educational. I thought it was a fun thing to do. I did it quite lightly. I mean, to me, a lot of the topics were not even to say we were having an intellectual debate. The topics itself were not intellectual, but I mean, I guess everybody has a different standard of what they perceive intellectualism. So I just kind of just did it just to, okay, I'm part of the space, so I'll contribute. But when you have people, when they can't debunk you or they don't understand, tell you your degrees don't mean anything, when my actual degree is a research degree that trained me to know how to specifically read the research that you're actually debating me on. That makes no
Right.
sense. I'm like, this is not
Mm-hmm.
even logical. And
Right.
so it was frustrating. That's why I don't, I'm actually
I'll say
getting
something in
back
a second.
into, I don't do as much. When I first began my channel focused on a lot of concrete mental health and psychological issues and terminology. I was using the DSM. I was using research. I was doing research studies, and so I stopped doing it because they didn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped using certain terms that people did not. I had to dumb down my content and start and relating it to things that were happening in the space for people to watch my channel. If I just would have been consistent, just talking about, if I could have just talked about the efficacy of communication and this area, that, or something like that, no one wanted to watch that. But if I talked about the efficacy of Black women interacting with Black men, and this is the result, I get people watching. It's it's a difference. And
Yep.
so that's what happened. So I understood that. I'm like, okay, it is what it is, and I just went that way. And so one of the things, the talking points that they would use against me is, why are you in this space? You should just stick to the stuff in your profession. I say, you all talk about relationships all the time. That's part of my profession. I mean, this is my profession. The stuff that you talk about is what I help people go through every day. This is all these things you talk about as far as black women and black men, this and that. This is all dealing with the dynamics of relationships or dysfunctionality in our community. This is what I do. I mean, I've actually helped hundreds of married couples and couples themselves, even of alternative lifestyle. I mean, I think I would know something about how to help people communicate and improve relationships. But my degrees and my experience doesn't mean anything. So that's what's
But let's be honest, Deidre. Do we really, as black men, really give a fuck about our own brothers that have gone the way just to get the certification degrees, to come back to community to say, there is a way, there is a service, and there's a way of help. I can help you, you know what I'm saying? And I am very qualified. As you know, the plethora of works, not only the debates I had with the males in the certain special sectors, but also on my channel, that I am actually qualified to engage and answer these problems. But it goes back again that there is no cure. There's only symptoms and pills be pushing. Why even they call and keep advocating red pill, blue pill? These are drugs that only keep you sickness. It is not to be the cure.
So here's the thing. As far as it goes in this space, and this is why I always tell y'all, there's stuff I can pick away from what Ruby was saying that I get, and this is a getaway space.
Mm-hmm.
There is no space out there. There is no reality outside of this space that people are running around calling people pookies and educated lames. It's only here. It's only here. This is why I say it's a figment of a lot of people's imagination, where they can relive their traumas. This is
Mm-hmm.
why I don't ever. This is why I never listen to anybody. I'm being honest. I don't listen to anybody in this space. I've never learned any. I never learned a damn thing. I never picked up on anything. I never had an intellectual faceted. Oh God, I had an awakening or any kind of shit. I sometimes I sit here. I sit
I mean,
here.
keeping it real. You know what I'm saying?
I sit here and I drink my beer and I pass the time, but I'm retired. And when I hear this shit, and sometimes I play it back to like other people who do not ever come to these spaces, and they listen to these panels, and they're like, "What the fuck? Where are these people at? Like, who are these people?" Because I know the detachment of reality and all this shit and these talking points. Like, this space or these men and women ain't challenging shit. They're not challenging femininity. They ain't changing. They ain't a goddamn law that has been changed or anything of that kind of stature. That's why you gotta. When we talk about people, that's why it's so easy to attack people who are doing things real time out there. Because see, it's like that job where everybody's at the smoke pit talking shit about the one person who's actually doing something. They are able to do something versus the people who do not want to do anything, but that they want to chastise. You can't chastise or shame a woman that's living and doing whatever the hell she wants. And some women have that issue, some women don't. Some men have that issue and that problem, some men don't. And that's just the fact of reality. When I see this space, and like I said, I'm emotionally drained. I really did. Like I said, I listen to what people say. I hear how people form these little clubhouses and shit, and I'm like, okay, we'll see how long this lasts. Because sooner or later, their traumas and all their issues and all their little damn stuff start coming out, and that's why I'm like, okay. Like I said, me and D already had a conversation about this shit a long time ago, and like I said, we already done copped the fucking plays. So, and that's why certain other people they just started to leave. They didn't say anything. They just said, I'm just gonna go do my own thing. This is not a conducive space. You can't have any realistic conversations. You can't come in and say, I'm having marital issues. See, I told you that woman was gonna always. I'm like, no, bitch. This is called relationship 101. I am a man. She's a woman. We're gonna have issues. You can't have it where you can just come in and say, hey guys, I'm going through some marital problems right now. She's probably out there fucking somebody, or maybe we just have issues going on. A woman can't come here and talk with other females because sadly, them same bitches you're talking to are probably the same woman they want misery likes company. And this
Mm-hmm.
is no more than a miserable
I'll say some after that.
cesspool of anger and hate. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, that's why I don't. And I'm being honest. I didn't smile and I wasn't cracking up and talking shit when I heard one of the content creators they had a divorce or they lost their family. I wasn't cracking dope. Other people were taking revelry and but
Yeah, what you expect?
I'm like, you guys, that only feeds the beat. I get it. This motherfucker can be an asshole. However, no matter what, that's one less black family we do have. And
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
you got to start thinking of the mentality of how poisonous the space. Because I would be angry. Listen, I got my own demons. I remember one time, and I came on. I told people, I said, I went to separation. Oh man, BMT, she must have been out there sucking cock when you was. I'm like, man,
Oh, what the fuck?
Damn, are you serious?
listen, man,
You
I heard
serious,
it
my
all.
dude?
But see, I'm not afraid. See when people call it doxing, it's called I'm talking to y'all about real life. Talking to y'all about real life. When it's called, hey, before there is a divorce, they will send you to a marriage counselor because that way they're saying, hey, if there's anything that we can do to possibly, if there's no danger or any abuse going on, is there any way possible we can save this family? They know there's going to be extensive rippling of effects of damage in that household. Maybe not just it may not show right then and there. See, you may be able to put on a farce in front when you got that camera off and talk to people. See, because you're going somewhere where you can amplify your pain and you don't have to deal with it. That's why people jump on panels so quickly because they get it's a getaway. It's a
See,
getaway.
distraction. Yep.
So when I listen to what women talk about, what men talk about. And when I listen to the women talk about they look for high value, I'm like, first of all, let's start off. What's your value? Where's
Mm-hmm.
your belief? Where are you standing right now in your life? Huh? Because
Mm.
I don't know what your value at. See, there's no such thing. I'm sorry, nobody's walking around with a goddamn value meter pointed at each other, scanning the value metric system of the next person. I never done that shit. I talk to people, I gauge them, I see where they're at in life. I mean, it's literally it's called. Let's go get a coffee. Hey, can we get a coffee? Can I meet you at a function and we sit down and we talk? Two human beings.
Mm-hmm.
It's but this is I told y'all. This is the Mano dating app where men and women can come and be what they want to be and how they want to be. But see, sooner
Mm-hmm.
or later, that real them comes out. And that's why you've been seeing all these crazy ass romance and cyber stories when people go and meet people. See that real person, oh, you not who you said you are. Or when you hear them dating coaches talk about that game, but they by accident knock up somebody or a few people. And then or the same people that say they wouldn't fuck with that type of person, then they get around that same person and they fall or get around or deal with the same shit. See, that's why I said it's a lot of YouTube preachers. They tell the congregation to do one thing, but they're doing something different. Because they need you to believe the dream. So long as y'all believe, don't go over the fence. See, the other puppy's going over the fence to go get that piece of meat. Y'all asses are standing right there. See, the people that tell you don't deal with a family, motherfucker was going home to a family every goddamn day. Same woman that
Facts.
says I will never deal with that type of man is going there cooking a meal for that same man that's talking shit to her.
Mm-hmm.
These
Facts.
are a lot of contradictory. So the women, this is their getaway from dealing with their actual man. It's that fantasy drug. The men, this is their confidence booster for, yeah, you saw the way how he talked to, I bet you if D-Mel had a channel of just cursing out women, boy, that man would be so goddamn popping. Put on
Oh
some
yeah, it would be
shades,
popping.
put on some shades, put on an R&B song saying "fuck these women." I promise that motherfucker, that
Really
shit would
good.
have blown
Yeah,
up.
BMT. Money got to be made here, man. You missing out, man. You go
No,
that
no,
route, you
I'm
get
not.
you get your 10K, 15, hell, even 50K subscribers overnight. And then
Listen,
you go turn around and then say, all right, today's stream we will talk about therapy. They're gonna say, oh, what happened to all cuss out of black? This is boring.
no,
I'm unsubscribing to your channel, man.
but see, that's the thing. That's the beauty. I've never followed these people, and then that's why it's kind of hard to gauge me, and that's why it's hard to gauge when when like the men that actually are doing their accountability dance. It's funny when a man will say out his mouth, "I love black women, dark skinned women. I like light skinned women. I like any type. I like women of my background," and they'll attack that man because he says he likes something that represents him.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be different if somebody would say the exact opposite and they loved and showered that man. So if he makes a child that is a black woman, would that not be counterproductive if he says, I hate black women? That's why Lil Wayne's daughter was like, what the hell you saying? Nigga, you saying that you like this foreign shit, but you making babies with all these black women. Make up your mind if you gonna talk this shit. T.I. talking about doggone, I'm trying to protect my daughter from thoughts. Nigga, you just made 3 more babies outside of your marriage. See, this is this contradictory of these goddamn messiahs that these people are choosing. These same women that talk about leading y'all to goddamn jubilee about how to get a man. Some of these motherfuckers haven't had a ring. Oh, I'm sorry. Listen, y'all women, if y'all are listening to women who have been engaged for over 2 years, I'm sorry, B. That man doesn't ever plan on marrying that broad. That man is not. No woman is engaged for 2
You know
fucking
what?
Who's
years.
been engaged for
I'm glad,
more than a year?
I'm glad you brought that up
That is,
because
Who been engaged
that,
longer?
that is an issue that is not talked about enough.
we got to keep
In
it
the black
100. We
community,
got to keep it real, D. We got to keep it real.
Wait,
because
BMT.
Oh,
Repeat that.
more than
let me hang on. Go ahead, D. Go ahead.
because more than any other community, I find it very uh, very consistent in the African American community in which we seem to get involved in these endless relationships with no goal at the end of the rainbow or per se. And I had this conversation with a therapist last week about one of my worst scenarios that I had was a woman that was a who cohabitated with her partner for over 33 years. And when her partner died, his children took everything and she had to move out of the house that they lived in for over 25 years.
Wow.
Over cohabitating. See, this is the stuff.
But you hear about this common law marriage. I've known that certain states don't accept that bullshit, and may want to say, black people, why don't you just get the legal marriage? Stop this game.
Common law marriage is just basically a recognition of the fact that you are living with someone. But in regards to an estate, in regards to your property, your bank, in regards to somebody actually making medical decisions for you, power of attorney, that common law wife or husband cannot do any of those things. If you
Well, they
have
can
children,
hear. They can hear.
huh?
It depends on the state. Because I mean the states are so it's funny because Canada's
Do they
not
got in
quite as
Canada?
divisive. Yeah, common law for sure kicks in. I think it's after 2 years of living together. But yeah, no, common law is literally there for that protection. And so when it comes to as far as the only difference between common law and regular marriage is that in a common law marriage, you don't have to go to court to become uncommon law married. That is the only
Exactly.
difference between
And it's
common
not a
law
true
and
marriage.
non-common law. But
Yeah.
it gives you all of the same rights. So for example, I can call someone I live with for 2 years and we have that proof that we lived together for 2 years, I can call them my spouse, and I can get their health insurance, and I can, if they get sick, I'm admitted to the hospital as family and all of that good stuff. So I mean, it actually does give you that protection. A lot of people don't realize that just because some states have common law, they think that it's across the board in America, and it's not. And they
No, it's
don't
not.
understand the rules, even if they do have common law, they don't understand how they work in their own state. So they end up getting screwed because they think common law is protecting them in some way. And then come to find out, when, like you said, when that spouse dies, when there's some issue with medical insurance needing or whatever, they realize, oh, no, actually, I'm not protected at all. I don't count, which is
Yeah.
really sad.
And my thing is that, yes, and this is the issue that I have with people in our community that claim they don't trust the state and they don't want to do the state. Like
There's
some
about the
guys
state in
would
their
say, I
business.
don't want to do that state shit. I don't want to do the state thing. You know, that's the white man certificate of marriage.
No,
But when you die, you you may not live to see that death certificate, but that death certificate comes from the state. I don't understand, and I
but
remember
either way,
BMT alluded to this about 2 weeks ago. I forgot what we were talking about. Why is it Negroes want to pick and choose when they want to deal with the state? You deal with the state. Wait, hold on. You
I
deal
have an
with the
answer for
state.
that.
now I want to say something for
You
everybody.
deal with the state for everything else, but then when it comes to marriage, all of a sudden, oh, I can't deal with the state. But go ahead, Ruby.
Wait, can I say?
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Chaos.
Let me have to say. You gotta understand this, bro. When you're Negroes, Thomas said, "I don't want to deal with that white man's paper." They know, because most black men are aware because they be listening to YouTube and all these other streams now, and they hear now going through the state. That means now you give full custody to the state. That means when the divorce happen, which it will, because there's 7% divorce is filed by women. A lot of dudes don't want to get in that
You
so-called
can't run
entanglement.
from the state.
Oh, the fish. They don't want to get that so-called entanglement because their concern is, I just want something where I could walk and have to pay nothing. If I had kids, I have to deal with that. They're trying to avoid the responsibilities. That's why they want the state getting their business. Because now you got to divvy up everything. If you have children, you have got to negotiate how children are going to take care of Fen. And if she's been in marriage for longer than, let's say, 5 or 10 years, depending on certain states, because it varies between alimony, she has been tied as that. A lot of dudes want to avoid that. That's their thinking, why they want the state to get in the business.
Right.
But
Okay. And so I'm going to address not the losers who are running away from accountability and responsibility that they should take ownership of, because
okay.
at the end of the day, if you create children and create a household and start building a legacy with someone, and that woman is a good woman to you, submissive to you, she decides to take the time off of work to watch your children and clean your house and cook for you and do all that stuff because that's what you want of her, and then that relationship goes south, there are accountabilities and responsibilities you have, whether or not you signed a piece of paper. And if that's the only reason why you don't want to sign the piece of paper, to me, that makes you basically a loser. But there are other reasons. And there are some valid reasons, I think, because there's a difference between when you choose to deal with the state and when you have no choice, right? So like you cannot have a child and they don't have a birth certificate unless you want them to literally not exist, not be able to go to school, not be able to anything whatsoever, right? Like, I mean, you can't just have a child and then they don't get a birth certificate, right? Without a death certificate, there's a whole bunch of things that can't happen. So there are times that, like that's not really like a choice factor. I think people don't like, and I see people do this in other ways too. For example, a relationship ends, a marriage ends, and they do have to legally get divorced. But as far as any type of custody or any type of alimony and whatever, they just arrange that privately amongst themselves because they don't want the state in their business, right? And so people do choose not to let the state get in their business because it does get messier, because there's a bunch of tit for tat that happens. Whereas, and you can't just, once the state gets in there, you can't just take what you want to take, or give what you want to give what you guys agreed upon, and then that's that. The state starts adding a whole bunch of extra crap on top of that. The state can I can turn around as a woman and say, listen, I understand you lost your job. It's cool. Don't pay child support until you're back on your feet properly. And the state can turn around and put you in jail for not paying child support anyway, right? Because it's through the
Oh,
state.
wow.
So there's a
Damn.
whole, right? It's not like people think that it's just the woman who's initiating it. Sure, she could bring it to the court's attention, but the court can do it outside of her. And so I think a lot of people don't want to be beholden to the state, because then they can get into your business and they can make things happen or push you to do things and penalize you also in some cases, like with taxes and so on, penalize you in some cases, when it would have been better for you to never have gotten married. I know someone who's with her fiance, yes, fiance, for 12 years. Most of that time they've been engaged, and they're going to be lifelong engaged. They are, if they ever have a wedding, it's going to be just basically to profess their love in front of people, but they're never going to make it legal. And that's why. It's not because of commitment or love or devotion. It's because they don't want the state to step in, because they see how it affects everything, and how overall it would actually hurt. It would hurt the children more. It would hurt them as far as tax time. It would hurt a whole bunch of different benefits single women get, as far as purchasing, as far as this, as far as that, that single fathers even get here as a break, as far as those types of things as well. So there are some valid reasons. For me personally, I've never cared about the legal aspect of marriage. It was never a big deal for me. For me, it was the religious connotations and the professing my love in front of, 5,000 of my closest friends and family. So
Okay.
I would have been okay with having just a religious marriage, because to me it was about being married under the eyes of God, not about the state telling me that I'm married, or not about the government validity, giving validity to my marriage. It was about God giving validity to my marriage, and about us making those promises, and us now holding ourselves accountable as a committed couple, to our friends and family, our community. So
I get you, Class Ruby. That makes sense. Makes sense. And it's funny you mentioned that the state gets involved and then everything goes to the shitter when it regards to the couple. And I get it. That a lot of dudes, especially in America, it's not a really good deal to get married the legal route because of this the high.
Nah, I disagree with that, but go
Oh,
ahead.
let me finish. Because of the high divorce potentially. Not saying man should still try anyway, but he should know that you're getting this.
Chaos. Hold on, chaos. You being disingenuous when you allude to the talking point of the fact that women file for divorce 80% of the time, without talking about the variables that contributed to them filing 80% of the time.
So,
You can't.
Vito, what is nut one?
No, hold on. Wait a minute. You see, we can't do this, man. We can't. Again, I can't have that conversation when you think that you think if 80% of those women, let's say 100% of those women that file 80% of the time, you think less than 50% of them had a valid reason to file? It was
What's the average? Why
they
women
filed
are
for
divorced
no
to the
reason.
internet?
What?
What is the main reason why they're divorced at a high rate, more than 50%?
The
I
reason
have I
why.
have a reason.
Oh yeah, let Ruby.
But I'll
Explain.
give you couldn't give you a reason. I'll give mine. But go ahead, Ruby.
Okay. So actually, I think that in a lot of cases we can turn to research. We can turn to research in a lot of cases for this as well. So one of the reasons is because of what your potential in the dating market is for men versus women, based on marital status. Men can barely be separated. And still have lots of dating potential for women who will love them, commit to them, move in with them, do the whole nine. Whereas in women, they have to really be divorced in order for them to get that kind of a man looking at them seriously. So women are going to be more eager than men to push that forward, because in essence, it is literally holding back them taking another step forward. That's point one. Point two, though, is this. So marriage, whether it's happy or unhappy, for men makes them 40% more successful in all areas of life, including financial. This is literally what the research has shown over decades and decades and decades. This is not, it hasn't stopped recently. It's not a new phenomenon. This is something that happens to be true. And whether a man is miserable as hell in his marriage or not, he will still be 40% more successful in basically all other avenues of life except for marriage. The children, in and of themselves, actually, interestingly enough, will be, for the most part, unless it's like very violent and abusive, will be 40% more successful by having a two-parent home. The one person who is not 40% more successful in a miserable marriage is a woman. The one person, she's 40% more successful in a happy, successful marriage, but she is not, she gets almost no benefit at all from being married once the marriage is miserable, when she's miserable in the marriage. So therefore, then everybody is going to benefit still, even if the marriage is miserable, even if everything is terrible, even if the man don't even look at her no more or whatever, everyone else is still going to actually be benefiting from that. Not to mention the fact that, of course, married with that ring on their finger, a lot of guys realize that that's when women start flocking to them. So, you know, again, their dating potential is not hurting even when they're in the miserable marriage. So when you look at all of the factors, then, right, whether we're even talking about and trying to validate whether or not the woman had a good reason for wanting to file to begin with, you can look and see that as well. Because a lot of men will leave it in the woman's court really to finalize things so that way he can now blame her for it and stuff like that. Well, what else do you expect? I mean, it wouldn't make sense any other way overall, given human nature, given men's nature, given women's nature, given the fact that men think very big, Mike, on a very macro level. Women think about little details. Women are normally the ones who are caring about these little details, like, okay, we got to get this stupid paperwork finalized already. There's a lot of reasons that you could factor into that 70-80% other than the probably 5 to 10% that men like to talk about.
So
Excellent.
I'm going to say, based on just clinical experience and research, I'm going to list three main reasons why women file for divorce, and this goes across every demographic, racial demographic there is. The number one reason why women file for divorce is for economic reasons. Number two, infidelity, and three, communication. Those are the three main reasons why women file for divorce. If they filed first, it was because of one of those three reasons. Whether he could not consistently take care of them, or financially wasn't doing certain things, or they were in financial shambles, or let's just say, and that can be somewhat subjective, because there are some women that want to live at a certain level and so forth, and they spend and do things, and they couldn't agree to certain things, and they felt like this relationship was no longer beneficial to them, and they filed. But the overwhelming is money, infidelity, and then also the fact of communication. Not being able to communication, and due to communication, it led to a very, very volatile marriage in regards to the way they interact, to the point where they were no longer civil with one another. And so this is what leads women. This is not some situation where we're trying to prevent this false narrative that women are like, look, I'm sick and tired of this. I don't want it. I'm filing for divorce. No, it doesn't work like that. In most situations, when that couple decides to file for divorce, it's usually 3 to 6 months of actual discussion before it actually happens. And in many of those cases, they may seek marital therapy or couples therapy to maybe alleviate some of these issues, to see if this is a viable relationship or not. And so, no, these women are not just running to the courthouse to file for divorce. They're not. You know,
Can I ask you a question? As far as
yes,
America, because I know that this is the case in Canada. So in Canada, like, you cannot decide you're mad today, you want to get a divorce today, then you can just get one tomorrow. You actually have to prove that you've been legally separated for, like, I think it's a year. If you want to do it faster than that, you actually have to prove that you've done some type of counseling. It's even a question on the divorce thing, like, hey, are you guys sure that you actually have proof here? Proof. I want documented proof that you actually did everything at your disposal to try to fix your marriage. So I don't know if it's like, is it like that in America
No,
as well?
it's nowhere near that. And a matter of fact, I wish that we would incorporate that type of system. It is actually very easy to file for divorce. Matter of fact, there are situations where, matter of fact, I had a client actually I actually was seeing this client back in 17, 18. I saw him for like 2 years on and off. He and his wife actually filed for divorce, in which they printed the papers off of the internet. This was standard divorce papers. Went to the court, filed separation through the court. They did everything without a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided not to have lawyers. They basically got a divorce by filing generic legal paperwork and they went in front of a judge and got it legalized.
Right. Okay.
It's very easy because in America we have a
Wait, do they have to do legal separation before divorce though? Like, as in, do they have to
no,
file?
you don't have to. You can file.
Okay.
You can file a legal separation if you want, but like say in the state of Texas, you can be separated and not leave your home.
Right.
You can't. Matter of fact, it's against the law. Actually, if you are married and you are separated, one of the partners cannot make the other partner leave.
Right.
You can stay in your home even though you're married. So what I was going to say is that when the federal government made it legal to file a no default
fault.
No fault divorce, that opened up the lines to make it easier for people to file for divorce. Before that, you had to basically show some things, not to the extent that you're stating for Canada, but you had to somewhere clarify why the relationship is not working.
It gotta be real reason.
You can file now and just say no fault. We can't resolve differences per se. And that's it.
Like we can resolve for no real good reason, but there's just the waiting factor and you've seen a counselor or mediator if you don't want to wait the required amount of time between being legally separated and divorcing, right? But like you don't actually have to give like, oh, they cheated on me or they gave me AIDS, or you don't have to like come up with something spectacular.
You don't have to do any of that stuff. Now, the issue of what makes divorce complicated in America is particularly your assets. For those who actually did build, that actually do own a home, have children, then it gets complicated where you're going to need lawyers to and so forth. And then that divorce can be drawn out for whatever time it is, so everything can be agreed upon, and then divorce. So. But mainly, the easiest divorces to actually leave is a divorce where there's no children and no property in either and each other, in which you don't co-own a property. So if you don't have children and you don't co-own a property, any type of property or any assets, you can quickly leave that. You can quickly leave that marriage and file no contest. I mean no fault divorce.
No fault divorce.
No fault divorce. To me, to be honest with you, the research showed that I was actually watching. I forgot the news. I don't know if it was CNN or MSNBC. It actually showed how I think this was in the early mid '80s when they made the no fault divorces. I think it was in the Reagan administration.
Well, actually, it came out in 74.
Yeah, 70. Yeah, but as far as it being national, divorces skyrocketed when it happened.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
Because what they're doing is they're not putting a measurement or parameters to make sure that to make you rethink is this really the right thing to do. If you make something easy for people to do, then they're going to do it with no.
But D-Direct, let's be honest. Because they enforced it now in the 80s, when they first initiated back in the early 70s, and then when Reagan came to office in 1981, they decided to make it more of
irreconcilable differences.
Yeah, nationwide. You got to understand.
Irreconcilable. Yeah.
They've been studying this like a hawk on human nature. I mean, human behavior for the last couple decades, especially when we no longer in industrial environments. We're moving to transfer from industrialization, offshoring jobs to now we move to digital technology. That this was a chess move they done, and they pushed for it 40 years. Matter of fact, I would say more than 4 years in the making. To now we see who really benefits from this, who really took the hurt of this. Because last time I checked, all the race people they do get divorced at a rate, but there was a study showing, and I gotta find the studies, that a lot of them started to couple up more in the last 60 years. Unlike how when we were married, it was higher. But once they push this, now we see our marriage like start dropping, dropping. And it makes me think how really vulnerable we are as a community. Because like you said, the major reason why really divorce is the economic aspect. So it shows a fraction of how very fragile we are as a community because we're not really figuring out how we can deal with this money issue.
So okay, so so in looking at but I always hear that when the divorce court came into play, that was the death of the home. Or
yes.
So yeah. I want to ask you. So is it because are y'all saying that? And I predominantly hear that from the men. Is that because of the reason of the woman doesn't have to put up with the bullshit, and she says, "I'm fucking out. Like I'm catching, and I'm catching your ass doing some fuck shit, and I don't have to I don't have to deal with you. So guess what? Because mind you, it's my son. Mind you, back in the day, and see, my mom, some women I know still alive. They tell you the survival chances of a black woman or a minority woman without a man was drastically low. So is that the reason why majority of the females
speak up, BMT. You sound muffled, man. I ain't gonna lie, brother. You sound muffled, brother.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Now you better. Now you better. Yes, I want to hear you clear, bro. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out like the no default divorce. But I'm being honest. If you're a man of means, that didn't really stop you. It didn't stop you. I'm just being honest. If you're a man of means, a divorce, how does that stop you? Most men that get a divorce that I do know, they probably before it's even a goddamn month or two, there's another body in that bed with them. So, so I'm trying to figure out how did divorce technically destroy the black family? How did it destroy the black family?
But you're right, BMT. Do you know how you know you're right? Do you know how you know you're right? Because of this. And again, it's all about controlling variables when you're looking at the statistics, right? So we got a 50% divorce rate. But if you look at it, where the majority of divorce is coming from, the older people, the older generations, old people are divorcing at a much faster, much higher rate, right?
You mean
when you're
Gen
looking,
Xers?
I'm talking about baby boomers and older Gen Xers.
Okay.
Older people are divorcing at a significantly higher rate. And in fact, if you look at the millennial and generation, whatever the hell's after millennial, I don't even know anymore. Their actual divorce rate is relatively low. Right? Is their marriage rate lower? Yes. But that's because they recognize that, hey, I shouldn't just tie my life to someone I don't really know, don't really like for no really good reason. So when they get married, they're tending to make really a lifelong commitment with someone that they can really actually work with. Once they've already figured out what their standards and their needs are, and they've made sure that they found that in someone else. So they're doing a much better job at mate selection than the older generations were. That, got into these marriages, felt stuck there, and then, hey, this no-fault marriage thing came up, but you know what? You've got all these kids already, you've got this whole life built together, blah, blah, blah. So you might as well stick it out until the last kid doesn't need you anymore. Then you get divorced. And that's what you're seeing. So that's how yes, a big factor to this was that women are saying, I don't have to just put up with whatever treatment. I don't have to be just say, well, you know what? It's all about what he wants, never about what I want or need. And oh, well. And I mean, it's right there in black and white for you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I mean, you have to contribute. There's all types of variables that contribute to it. But my thing is that the breakup with the black family is not the fact that it's not the fact of black people not getting married, which is the issue is the fact that you got people that are not committing to anything in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue. You got people that are not committing and they're having children without no commitment. You're creating children. You're not committing to anybody. You're basically in these superficial relationships, if that's
Mm-hmm.
what you want to call it, or you're in these entanglements or whatever we want to say, and got
Mm-hmm.
these friends with benefits and all of these different types of terms and titles,
Whole
and
culture.
nobody's committing to someone.
Hot girl summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know some
So
young
that
women today, they want to have rotations. They want no relationship. They want to sit there, have some men around, one man pays some bills, have another dude around, and have a nice little rotation. We live in
Now,
21st.
question. Before there was Hot Girl Summer, then what was Papa was a Rolling Stone or Me and Mrs. Jones? See, I like to look at it from different sides. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I said when I look at this sector, when they had that Hot Girl Summer's goddamn entanglement, I was like, y'all, when people learn words, boy, oh my god, y'all do
Yeah,
like the
man, we
same.
great people. Shut up,
Hold
BMC.
up now, but I'm just saying, like, I'm just watching the play that it's just that I listen to all the songs. Me and Mrs. Jones, goddamn Hot Girl Summer, the '90s, with Jodeci and all them goddamn pop stars singing about how to be a player and stuff. So you're looking at the bastard babies of all these people that wanted to get to live in that fantasy, but they don't look at the after effect when there's a counselor having to sit there and deal with this child or a guidance counselor or somebody and say, listen, man, I don't got time to deal with that kid. I got to live my life. And so those kids remember, this is why those kids remember those talking points that are in this. And see, I got to let you know, most men and women that are not connected to this space, when they hear the talking points of this space, they
Mm-hmm.
look at it in disdainment. They don't like this space. They don't like the men. They don't like the women. Because they
Yes.
hear the same talking points that destroy the home being echoed in this space.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm being frank.
That is true.
I'm just being frank. Like, I can play this. I can play some of these men's channels. A good. I'll play a good 70% of these channels, these debates, these talking points to other men.
Mm-hmm.
They will literally say, y'all better stay the fuck away from my sister, my mama, my cousin, any girl I know, because I will kill y'all.
Yeah.
The
Mm.
same for the
You
same
want to
thing.
hear a joke? Want to hear a joke?
Yeah, I want to hear a
So
joke. Go ahead.
people who on the surface agree with technically some of what people are saying or doing. So, for example, a guy that I know, right? He loves dating white girls. Actually, he's dated very few black girls. And so you would think then he would be able to agree with the rhetoric. And he listened to the cis BM rhetoric and he's like, cis BM, what is that? And I said, save yourself, black man. And he burst out laughing. And he laughed for about 5 minutes. I'm not going to lie. Save yourself from what? What are you, from women? These men have to save themselves? I thought they were men. What the hell are you he was on
Hey,
the floor laughing, right?
Ruby, 'cause you're a girl, you're a woman, right? Don't say be honest. The one time your family or people that's from the West Indies will say this, say, them people must be funny men. You get what I mean?
Mm. You know what? I mean, again, not many people I know, even people who come to listen to me talk on Manos, I swear to God, a lot of them say that they just wait to see the ring around me light up and then they unmute themselves so they could hear what I'm saying. And then when someone else starts talking, they mute it again because most of it just sounds so idiotic and so senseless. So much of it on both sides to them, both the women and the men, sounds like just a complete lack of accountability, a
Yes.
complete lack of sight as far as and a complete lack of logic. Like, for example, and this is part of something I've been talking about from day one. We like to find judgment so we can cast it, and we really like to always talk about what, right? what this person's thinking, what this person's doing. We take that and then cast it on people as judgment. But what we really never do is ask why. So you just identified what this person's doing, but you're not actually really asking why and then waiting for the answer. Because a lot of times what it looks like on the surface has nothing to do with what it actually is. But no one wants to believe that, because that would be too close to finding a solution. And no one wants to find a solution, because then they're not able to validate them sitting in a corner, not really trying, not being able to get that spouse they're looking for, not being able to get that life they're looking for, right? If someone gives them a solution, then it's their fault. So they don't want it to be their fault, so they're not looking for the solutions. But that's what it comes down to. Like all these people with their lists and the word high value man. I've never heard anyone ask a woman and just keep asking the question why? So why do you want a high value man? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, but why? Because the thing is, a lot of these women use the word high value man the same way they use that list that was 10 miles long. It's deflection and protection. It actually doesn't mean anything at all. They're not looking for that. And if they are, it's because they attribute some types of characteristics, like, for example, that type of man's not going to hurt me because that type of man doesn't think like, these hood boogers that have hurt me in the past, and blah, blah, blah. So she attributes a bunch of characteristics to high value man earning six figures that honestly has nothing to do with the six figures. Or if it does, then it's like, well, if all men are the same, then, at least I can buy myself pretty things and as I cry myself to sleep at night. So, asking why would get you to understand that all of the stuff that you're saying in retaliation is not you coming to an understanding of what's actually happening. Most of these women are dejected. They're feeling a lot of pain. They've been hurt a lot of times. They're really angry and bitter. They've seen the same BS from the same guy over and over and over again. They're not recognizing that they've got to do some healing internally. So their energy brings in a different kind of guy. And then, you go to the other side and the men are literally doing the exact same thing. Because you know what cures an incel? A good woman. He finds a woman who actually finds him attractive and actually he falls in love with and treats him right and isn't using him and blah, blah, blah. All of those standards he used to have about how she's got to be a size 3 and she's got to be a 10 in the face and she got to be this, she got to be submissive, all of those standards go away because all they want is to be loved and accepted, validation and attention, right? That's what everyone's looking for. I won't say everyone.
That's why
right?
you see some guys that were here, they disappeared. You don't know where they went. You don't hear from them again.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Guys, they found that woman. Hey, listen, but let's get real. On YouTube, I found certain people have found mates on YouTube. I ain't gonna lie about that. But my thing is this: the dudes that said they're red pill and blue pill, B just said best. He said, for all you dudes that said that you're red pill rage, you're one blowjob away going back to beta and blue pill again. And you're right. Because when women come around, when these dudes are talking all that hard cash shit, once a female with a good avatar comes up, they react differently.
Yeah.
Their demeanor change.
Yeah. Especially if she says all the right stuff, right?
Yeah. You seen it. Remember Clash Ruby for the last few months? You watched it. You noticed it, right?
Yeah. Of course I have. Right. That's why they don't like me. Because they only like me 50% of the time, right? Just like the women only like me like 20% of the time, and the Black Woman is God group only like me about 10% of the time. It's because you only like me when I'm saying the thing you want to hear, right?
Exactly.
So if I'm because I try to be actually really logical and fair and unbiased, which means you might think, oh, she's a great representative for the thoughts of the red pill and manosphere. That's true. I will say, on a pure logic level, the pure logic of red pill is probably closest to what I believe. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to believe things that are outside of that. And as soon as I say something, see, she's a feminist. I told y'all she's a feminist. No, so Ruby's a feminist. She's probably poser. She's 55 and she's dark skinned and you can see me live on my videos on my channel, right? But that's irrelevant now. I'm a 55-year-old dark skinned woman. Like, wait, what? Like, what does that even have to do with anything? But you see that automatic knee-jerk reaction, which tells you they are just dying for one pretty little gorgeous woman to look at them the way that they've never been looked at before, and to quiver when he talks to her, and to fall in love with him, and to want to make him a plate of dinner just once. And you know what? He would literally lick the soles of her feet after she sat down, because even the soles of her feet don't deserve to be dirty, because so wonderful is she. Because you know what I mean? They would turn into beyond the sim. That's why they're so angry at anyone who has respect for women, right? Because they know that it's inside of them too. They're just more angry that these men have women in their lives, obviously, and that's why they feel free to not hate women, because they have someone at home who loves them, right? Like, I mean, it's so obvious. And I'm not trying to attack the men, because like I said, you see the exact same thing on the women's side. Just the difference is, the reason why I don't go to the women's side is because the women's side deals a lot in emotion, very little on research and facts, very little on even trying to try to understand. It's very hard to find anyone I can kind of relate to, because I don't think and relate the way a typical woman does. But I see the exact same behavior everywhere. That's why I can't go over to the angry incel area of the manosphere, right? I can't go into some places because it's too much emotion and too much, like, it's so obvious. How can y'all not see you're a tribe of angry, bitter, butthurt people who are just dying for one girl to find you attractive enough that you can finally get your first blowjob without having to pay for it? That's it.
Yeah, you know, you don't have to pay for it. And I said, damn, you gotta pay for it. And listen, you gotta pay that other tax. And it's part of life. You know, some women got paid too. Some women are not gonna be that pretty and beautiful, so they gotta pay. And nothing wrong with that. I said, baby, you work so hard to become valuable. You know, pull that wallet, pull that purse. You know, pay what you want. You know, and be happy. Shit, I haven't paid for shit yet, but I tell most of you, if you have to pay, I'm not gonna front you. I'm not gonna get mad at you. I said it's part of the game. You know. But like I said, everybody wants to be easy. Everybody wants validation. They want to be loved. I know, I get it. I like to be loved too. I like to get blowjob once in a while too. But shit, I can't have it my way.
So in asking that question, but I've seen the groups full up or the chat full up where it talks about, you'll have some men that talk about paying for sex.
Fix your
And
mic. Fix your mic.
There's nothing wrong with my mic.
Okay, it's not better. It's not muffled, but go ahead. Go ahead.
So, and then talking about that, when hearing the talking points, I hear a lot about talking about the woulda, shoulda, or raising a home, and I'm wondering, because the women are talking about that they want a certain type of value of man, and the women and the men talk about that they want a Susie homemaker, but they don't want a thought. But to have the woman that they talking about, she costs. She costs. She's not cheap. You know, and I'm looking at what you're saying, Chaos, about that. You know, if you want somebody that's of value, you're gonna pay. No matter what, you're gonna pay something. That's why I never understood these talking points. You know, she stay at home, she cooks, she cleans, she walk around barefoot, pregnant. Nick, how much y'all talking about making? And if you're talking about making, then literally, you do know in the eyes of the court, that's her job. You're going to pay her for that. And this is where you hear a lot of the men feel like, oh man, like she got me for everything I got at the court. Well, you didn't want her to be a partner. You wanted her to be a worker. So you asked for that. So now you have to pay your due towards that. Versus you have the other person who is a partner. It's more so of a shared agreement between you, her, and whatever y'all work out.
Yep.
So when I hear the talk and see, and this thing about it, why some women are like, when the women come here, they're listening to what these men are saying. They're like, okay, so let me hear what these men are thinking. Well, if I get with a bitch, she gonna pay 50-50. And the woman was gonna retire, and the woman gonna reply back, you know, in their groups. Well, if I gotta go 50-50, then nigga, I'm not submitting to you. Like, why are you talking about submission and you want me to go half with you?
Facts.
But then you'll have another group of men. They'll say, well, guess what? I'll pay for everything, but she need to do everything I say. And then the woman's like, well, I have my own money and I have education, I have X, Y, and Z. Why would I need to be under you? I mean, I want to be with you, but I'm not going to be under you. Like, I'm not your stool. So
no, you're a slave.
So, you know, so Now, but then there's the darker side where you have the woman. They don't mind saying, see, a woman. I call it the Black Widow effect, or the praying, or the female mantis. If you ever know the female mantis, she puts on a dance for the male praying mantis, and she'll do a dance, and he'll join and start dancing with her, and he'll start mating and fucking with her. Then all of a sudden she'll bite his head off because she just has to dance and get you to agree with her, and you'll start paying her attention, and you'll start giving to her. But secretly in her mind, she knows I got you. I don't have to do much. I just have to give you that potency of time. And so there are some people or certain agents, they know that just by my words or by my feel alone, I got you. I'm running. It amazes me, y'all, when I hear people talking about game. You don't think the women aren't listening? Do y'all really not think women are not sitting there listening to y'all talk about game? Like now they're playing the game. They understand that now they're the hand that rocks the cradle rocks the world. So the game that you're supposedly teaching these men that they're not implementing it, the women are learning it. And guess who they're running game on? The men. Then we'll see the show where that woman got me. How the fuck did she get me? Well, she's sitting in your goddamn battle tent and at the meeting with you. She's super chatting you like, keep on going, like feed us this information so I could put my girls on point at the goddamn salon. So I always find it interesting, these talking points, because the women understand, like, I don't want to get with this type of man. That's why when I hear the conversation, well, they're not checking for us, they're not doing this. No, they're not checking for you. The man that they have eyes on, they know they know that this cyber shit does not work on this man. He doesn't believe in this system. He doesn't believe in it. He just believes in what he can do. And the woman knows, well, damn, I gotta wipe clean that slate. Versus there are some women who believe in it. You got to be it's a very finicky thing. That's why I say it's a hard line to draw between reality and this goddamn subverted world or fetish that people want to live in. You know, so I'm not going to stop people from doing what they do. I understand. This is why this is why I told D, like, I don't even know why you're talking about psychology with these motherfuckers. They're never gonna get you. This is why whenever I try to have a conversation with Ruby, I get frustrated, and it's not something upon her, but I'm like, we're wasting my fucking time. It's a waste of my fucking time. I don't. Hell, I talk about dyslexia. Y'all think I'm talking about sex. That's how I know y'all are stupid. Because
they thought you was talking about sex over a learning disorder.
Listen, so this is why I don't.
It's laughable.
I don't bother anymore. We can talk about the trauma, and it seems like a lot of people, if you haven't picked up on this, D and Ruby, and maybe you too, Chaos, a lot of people have a lot of sexual trauma and issues going on in this space, and it comes out. You know that they like talking about sex a lot. A lot of these people got some sexual things going on that they need to probably get some proper help. I don't know how the hell somebody with 100 viewers or people in the chat, they are professionals. But people who go to school, they're not the professionals. They're the enemy. But y'all like grabbing statistics on women. And what the fuck are y'all reading statistics for the person that reads the statistics and has to read the DSM? That's why I said that debate that Ruby did was stupid. I was literally quoting the DSM in the chat to these people about colorism and the mindset. Where are you pulling this up for? I ain't never heard of it. Well, read the DSM, dog. You can buy it on the eBay. DSM-5 is right there. It's not hard to get. It's not like a hidden book. But when you talk about it, only thing that they can retort back to you is YouTube rhetoric. That's all they can bring back to you. Well, we saw this on the channel. So we're going by Instagram and Twitter and YouTube rather than by hundreds of doctors and therapists and documents of study and science.
Yeah, she couldn't pull herself away from it, and I literally, it didn't matter what argument I said, she went back to these women, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, I'm not even talking about the women. I brought up men, I brought up children, I brought up teaching institutions, I brought up everything else, but she couldn't not pull it back there because that's all she
Who
knows.
You
did
know
that?
what? You know what? I'll tell you why, Ruth, because it has to go
Who
back
did
to the
that?
narrative of the so-called black Manosphere.
Oh,
This
Oh, black men.
that's black
you missed it, Dita. It was a debate with Ruby
and just get
and Jessica. And I thought, I never thought I would see that debate, but
When was that?
last
Wednesday. It was
one day.
Wednesday that just
Damn, I
passed.
missed. Oh, that was on your channel, BMT.
no, it
No,
was
that
on.
was on Teapot, the channel that you stopped
If you
participating.
go if you go to Deederal, if you go to
Oh,
my
you
playlist,
debated Jessica X?
yeah, well, I did it to kind of help them out because no one was coming up to do challenge day with her, so I figured I could kind of break the ice since me and Brother X go way back. So I said, okay, I'll go up and I'll do what's something I really disagree with you on. Okay, colorism. Okay, I'll do that since and I even told her at the point where I don't necessarily disagree with you on this part of colorism, so let's not do that. And she had to keep pulling it back in because it's the only things that she knows about colorism because everything she knows she got from the channels that she frequents, right? So
Yes, correct.
and she doesn't know a lot outside of colorism insofar as dating and angry people and who date outside of relationships, blah blah blah. It's all she really knows, so she couldn't really talk so much about everything else. And it didn't matter how much research I brought up or how many other points I brought up, I was going to lose. Why? Because she was speaking their perspective in their space, so of course they prefer her argument. I was even surprised I got
And that's
anyone to vote for me at
and
all,
that's
or
the reason
they
why I
draw.
stopped debating. And that's the very reason. To be honest with you, every debate that I actually had, I won, but I lost. I
No,
lost the actual count.
we won our two debates. The first two, we did win those. We won those. You won one of them on your own, and me, you had the team debate. And after a while, I was like, I don't think we're ever going to win again. That's especially for you, D. But
Yeah,
I was a little bit mad at Ruby. I was a little bit. I'm beyond. I was mad, but I was like, why are you going up there? But then
because it
again, I'm
wasn't a
like,
real debate. Like I was just there to help out, and I made sure that I made that clear. Like I'm
you
just
two,
here to, break the
you are
ice.
too fucking nice, and that's gonna be the death of you.
You
And
know why? Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. Jessica X doesn't particularly bother me. Me and Brother X go way back. Like I'm the first female YouTuber he ever interviewed, and that was back in 2000, I think 17.
right,
Right. And I did a panel on his channel for like a year every Thursday. Like me and Brother X are cool. So I was really there. I wasn't there to debate
right.
her. I was there to help my brother. You know what I mean? I would do the same
Okay.
thing for you,
And I
No,
right?
no, no,
Like
no. That's fit. Like,
You were just trying
and
to make the show for the night because it was going to be her just talking, putting people to sleep. So
yeah,
she
because no
needed
one
an
was going
opportunity.
up. People were
right.
scared to go up. After I went up, then an actual challenger came in, right? Because I broke the ice and proved, like, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. No one's gonna come and chop your head off. You're allowed to actually, say your piece.
Like,
Like,
to be fair, I don't have, and I'm being honest, I don't have any angst against Jessica. Like, me and her had already had talked. I don't have anything against her because she's
yeah,
not in my she's not in my lane, and she knows that. But she's been over to my channel, and
yeah,
I've been over to her channel, and I think that's whenever somebody brings up me to her, she doesn't
mm,
say much, but she's like, I don't know how to gauge that type of guy. I
right,
don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to BMT because there's nothing I can really say to him that he registers on YouTube. See, this is what happens when you remove yourself from the YouTube rhetoric and
yeah.
you don't know how
mm,
to get. So when I'm like, okay, I was getting frustrated because I was a wasted talking point. It would have made more sense if it was you and D the real debating because then y'all could have done both sides of the argument. Do you understand what I'm saying? But then
yeah,
again, nobody would know what the fuck y'all were saying. It's just like this is like it's just like when I go up there in the debate, I don't lose off of goddamn debating. I lose off of popularity. That's what I lose. I know I'm going to lose on popularity, but they're going to vote the
Exactly.
popular. Right. And
mm,
so I'm like, oh shit. Well, and then that's why I told D. Like D started knowing. I'm like, wow. I was reading everything he was saying, and then I did. I think the next week after, The same thing D. Darrell was talking about came up in a psychological study. And I said, D. Darrell, here you go. Everything you said, and it verified. And so it showed me no matter what you say, and I think Shar just put it up. It's on the back. It's on the back of her thing for her channel. It's like no matter what evidence you distribute, you put out in front of the eyes of fools, it'll never, it'll never matter. And so no matter what you tell these women, and I'm not going to say Kevin Samuels is always wrong on shit. I'm not petty like that. I do believe he has some valid points. But then I also understand it's coming from a bias. It's coming from a
Mm-hmm.
bias. Just
Yeah.
like it's just like I remember one time when Dita Rell was talking, and people were trying to get him to speak from a psychological, as like as if he was actually in his office, and Dita Rell kept saying, "No, I can't do that. I am on YouTube. Nobody's doing psychological therapy on YouTube. No, I'm sorry. That is a big hippo. I've had people start telling me their doggone suicidal thoughts. I'm gonna stop. I gotta stop the show. I gotta stop everything. If you need to,
Mm-hmm.
I need to either call the police or I need to go get somebody else. Like this is not. Oh no, BMP, it's okay. I'm like, no, stop. Like if I have to, I will call my friend. He's a therapist. I will call somebody for you to talk on the phone with. No, man. Like I just want to give up. Like no, oh God, I gotta stay on now and say
Yeah,
what you did
it's
now.
getting real out here, man. For
And,
real.
and you gotta understand, some people, and this is where it's dangerous at, because some of these people are so disassociated, especially these women. They are so disassociated from reality that they are clinging on to the words of digital media narrative. Just like these men, no offense, but when they get pushed to the edge, some of these men start going postal and shoot up salons, beat on a woman. That happened in 2018. A man from the Manosphere beat his woman, broke her ribs, shattered lacerated her eye socket.
Oh
No,
wow.
nobody wanted to take account for that. There's been plenty of
Wow.
things that have happened out of this
Wow.
state. You got to understand. This is why I'm saying, some people need help. A lot of these women, like there's a woman misunderstood. She literally thought that, hey, it's fine if a man beats on me. That's normal. She used to be on my show.
What?
We
Oh
had to
my
let
gosh.
we had to let her go. I remember it was me, X, information man, and we had to talk to her like, no, that's not psychologically logical behavior. Like, what happened to you? And so when you start asking the questions, you'll start finding out a lot of these people. Like, you got to think there's something wrong when a lot of men are happy that a man gave a bunch of little girls HIV. Like, you got to think
Mhm.
there's something has to be wrong with these people. You got to think there's something wrong where people get happy, where somebody gets knocked out, a woman gets knocked out and beat within an inch of her life, and they say, good for her. And you're like, shit, like,
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
I used to got some unkept traumas, man. They gotta be evaluated, man. These,
I,
yeah.
But see, I've
listen,
asked that question why, and I've actually gone down that rabbit hole. And what it comes down to, right? And that's why I said you have to keep asking why to get deeper and deeper and deeper. But eventually, where you get to, right, is the hurt and the pain, and as you said, the trauma of their own experience, where it was entirely validated. Women, whether it's their mother or whatever, were entirely validated for abusing them, and it was okay. And then on top of that, while they were taking that pain and that L in a way, then they were told, well, you're not allowed to hit back. And if you do, you're a piece of trash. So you're a helpless victim, basically, a little boy who can't defend yourself. And then even if you did, you'd be a piece of trash for lashing out. And so they don't really care about that woman who got beat. It's about she's a representative of all the people who were allowed to hurt him, and there were no repercussions, or he even watched them be celebrated, right? Or this bitterness of, I mean, and it doesn't matter. No one can tell me that they're not happy because of the fact that, you know what, secretly it hurts them deeply, all of them deeply that Black women that they love and they actually do find attractive and they do actually value someone over them, and say that the white man's the great man, the white man's this, the white man's better than you, right? So it's like, ha, see, told you we were better. It's all very childish, and it all comes from your own internal pain, your own internal hurt, your own internal trauma that they keep displaying over and over and over again. And the thing is, right, like when I go on to the debate, for example, or when I do panels even, I'm not speaking to the people on the panel, because honestly, everyone on the panel thinks that what they've brought is the most valuable thing to the table, and they're basically there to share it or to debate it or to try to debunk or whatever it is. I'm speaking to the audience, and most of the people in the audience are going to be leaning towards wherever the content creator leans. That's what it is. So I'm not speaking to everyone in the audience, although I do reach some of those people. I'm speaking to most of the people who sit there and listen in the clouds, because I'm telling you, those people do listen. And I get emails. They won't say anything in the chat ever, but then when they like the point, like this one guy, he's done it twice. He sent me, I tell you, it took me just to read through without clicking on the research article links. It took me an hour to read through each email with how much research he compounded to give me on why it is that marriage is actually beneficial for men and women. Now, this is a lot of work that he had to put into that. He doesn't speak publicly because he knows he's going to get torn apart. He's going to be called a simp, blah, blah, blah. But he loves the fact that I am speaking and I'm representing him and the segment of the population that think like him. And he's not the only one who's done it. There's a lot of people you don't even realize who you're reaching in the background, whose minds you're changing. I mean, goddamn, you know how many of these people, and I'm not going to name names, but there are big content creators where when I first came in with a particular concept, and it's based obviously in psychological research, and they argued me down to death. They all 10 of them jumped on me, this and that, blah. It was crazy. But within 6 months, they were all using that talking point like they invented it. Okay? And this happened
it's
to me.
copying. That's how it works.
Yeah, it happened to me multiple times. And I'm okay with that. You know why? Because it means I taught them something. And they're going to, no matter what else, they're not going to validate me for it. That's cool. No problem. But you know what? That means that at least one point that they make, they're going to disseminate to thousands of people who are going to listen to them and believe them, even though they wouldn't believe me. I don't care, as long as it's getting out there to the community. So, you know, I always look at it as far as I don't care about the average. I understand that the average of our community, we front a lot, we talk big, we like the echo chambers, we say the stuff that's safe, right? Because we don't want to be weak or vulnerable for one moment. We very much care what everyone thinks about us and whatever. So I don't speak to what's happening on the surface. I don't speak to people's surface presentations of their argument. I don't speak to people's surface presentations of their thoughts or even their thoughts of me. I don't care. All of that's irrelevant to me, because you know what? I'll tell you one thing. If I was so irrelevant to them and whatever, then they'd stop listening to me. But they do listen. Even if they're going to argue me down, even if they're going to this, that, and the next thing, they listen. And you know what? A bunch of them, low key, they'll never admit it, but they come and they subscribe to my channel. So I'm just saying.
Or if you still got a channel, Ruby.
You
still have your channel?
Of course, I still have a channel. What do you think? I just like took it down?
No, she has
classic Ruby. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I'm getting
great
time. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with BMT and then end with Chaos Reign.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so pretty much, I don't see this as a conducive space for if you're a woman when you're trying to figure if you can get something out of this or you can learn something or any of that other crap. I stop fooling yourself. You're not learning anything. Most of them you'll know by the fruit that you bear. And majority of the men that I know that I do rock with, we're not really part of the manosphere. We are, but we're not, in the sense that makes any sense for how me D Darrell are. And there's only certain, like the main gatekeepers, they can't co-sign us because they don't even rock with this manosphere stuff anymore. So that should tell you, it's not conducive to what black men are trying to go in a direction. Um, you got to just be very notable of that. If you're a female and I feel you think you got some authority, but if you got a wrench, you might want to say, you might want to give up that wrench and just start watching from the clouds and start backing away. You can still come respectfully, but don't think that they really want you. And I'm just being honest and very straightforward. You haven't seen them talk about family. You haven't seen any marital couples come around. You haven't seen anything conducive towards building or fixing things come around this space, but it's not wanted. The same people that are giving y'all and teaching y'all, some of these same people are baby daddies, baby mamas. They haven't even made it up the altar, let alone have somebody even get on a knee for them, unless going down on them. So you got to start thinking about this stuff, y'all. Like, some of these people are coming from a place of damage. If you're trying to find me, BMT, you can find me on BMT2 Unfiltered. That's my other channel. I'm only down for 2 weeks. I'm not really stressing it, so I'm taking it as a break. Um, and I got a lot of people who want to do content, but I'm literally I'm just on break mode. You know what I'm
I
saying?
feel
Y'all
you.
guys just hit me up if y'all want to. But yeah, that's it, D-Bro.
All right, man. Talk to you later. Okay, Miss Ruby.
All right. Well, like I said, ultimately, though, there's only 4 reasons at the end of the day why people are here in general, with the very few exceptions of people who actually came here to help, and to disseminate knowledge, actual knowledge that they have. I mean, real knowledge, like you're a professional. You're coming for validation, coming for attention, coming for camaraderie, i.e., friendship or a sense of community that you don't have in your life, right? And ultimately, the biggest issue, though, is those who come for distraction. And I think that is a huge between validation and attention and distraction. Those are the biggest reasons why women are coming over here. Because you know what? You can yell, you can scream, you can project all of your issues onto this jerk who said something similar to the person who treated you badly, so on and so forth, right? Or you're coming again because you think maybe you'll be the magical exception to the rule. But while you're looking at those magical exceptions, I just got to say one thing again. For those who are held up as magical exceptions in this arena, do those people have what it is that you ultimately want? Do they have a loving husband? Do they have a high value husband if that's what you're looking for? Do they have a high quality husband? Do they have a husband at all? Do they have the family life that you're looking for? Right? Do they have the lifestyle in general that you're looking at? Because if not, then they're probably not people that you want to be trying to emulate, as far as you being an exception in this particular arena. Because just because this arena thinks you're an exception doesn't mean that it's going to make you successful outside of YouTube. Because let's face it,
Amen.
YouTube is not reality. YouTube,
Amen.
none of the people here are real. 99% of the life stories you hear are not real. Like, it's
Mhm.
not real, right? And so instead of taking all of that energy, validation, attention, trying to make friends here, trying to get acceptance here, trying to get people to validate your opinion and where you stand and why you're alone here, trying to distract yourself here, because when you're doing all of that, what you're not doing is working on yourself, your own life, your own relationships, your own ability to get what it is that you need from life. And you're never, ever going to get those things. And you're going to look back and realize it's been 10 years and you're still single. Now your eggs are drying up because, again, women, we got a limited amount of time. You got wrinkles on your forehead where you didn't
Yes,
have them
ladies.
before. You're an
Yeah.
extra 25, 30 pounds because all you do is sit in front of your computer to yell and scream at people on YouTube. It is not worth it. And I'm not sending you over to the sisterhood either. I'm not. I'm not sending you to either
Amen.
of these polar spaces because the polarized spaces are not helping you. They are there for
No,
people
not Chris and
to,
Kirsten are helping black women.
no, they're there for you to feel better about your circumstances and to blame everybody else. You're going to point
Money.
outward with the 3 fingers pointing back at
Oh
you
my
and
god.
not recognize those 3 fingers pointing back at you as you slowly deteriorate from all of this toxicity.
Oh my god.
Stop buying into the toxicity. Stop buying into these polar places. Limit your time on the internet altogether. Limit your time on social media altogether. Because trust me, social media is destructive everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they have proven that social media is literally destroying us and destroying our ability to make friendships, to make relationships, to make to bond well with our families. I mean, overall, it's not helping you. So whatever your reason is for being in the man spaces, if you're looking for a man, trust me, this is not the place to look for it. Bitter, angry people do not make for good husbands. So maybe let's not do that. They're telling you what they're looking for. They're looking for some young, hot mess that will allow them to pump and dump. They're looking for some young, hot mess who's going to blow them, make them a sandwich, and then they're not going to commit to because they don't believe in marriage. So, I mean, they're letting you know what they're about. If that's not the kind of man that you want in your life, then whatever they have to say isn't valuable to you anyway. Go be elsewhere, right? If the sisterhood is being, that channel is being led by a woman who's single, with several children, unmarried, never been married, still don't have a man, right? Don't own nothing.
Can't keep
She's
a
got
man
a
either.
career, right? She got a great career, she claims, and yet somehow she don't own a house or a car or nothing. Listen, if she doesn't have the life you want, why are you listening to her? Okay. And my third and final thing, there are women and men, for that matter, on YouTube who are happily married, who have the life that you actually want. Those are the people you need to be listening to, because whatever perspective they're talking about right now, right, it's probably a thought process that would be beneficial to you. Why? Because it makes a part of who they are, and they've got the marriage you want. They've got the life you want. They got the family you want. They've got the bond and the vibe and the career and the everything that you want. They got the relationship dynamics you want. Listen to those people. Please stop listening to toxic people. The end.
Amen. Wow. Well said, Classic Ruby. Well said.
Thank you, sir. And if I could just say one more thing, I would absolutely love, D. Darrell, if you and I could do a psychology thing. I've done it before with Topaz, because she's a psychologist. And, I think it's when you have two women with very similar perspectives and talking from a very similar dynamic or approach from psychology, I don't think you get as well-rounded a discussion. I think it would be really cool, actually, if you and I did like a psychology thing. You don't have to do it like super often, but if we were to
You
do
got a
that,
psych major, Ruby?
yeah. My basically, so I'm on a PhD track.
Okay,
In, like I
wonderful.
said, one of the top psychology schools, and in psychology, neuroscience, and behavior. And
Handle.
my subspecialty is evolutionary psychology. So that's why I always go back to 10,000 years ago, and what we evolved to be, because it still
Yeah.
runs us to this day, and you can see it, and the research proves it. But I think it would be really cool if we were able to do that. I think if you put men, women, there's so many topics we could approach from a psychology perspective, and we don't have to use all of the terms people don't know. We can not dumb down the content, right? We don't have to dumb down the terms, but we can still give people high quality psychology advice from time to time, and information, more importantly. And it won't reach everyone, but it'll reach some people.
Hey, I was actually kind of thinking about that when you first came on, so I definitely would definitely look forward to that. Um, I think I have your email already. But yeah, we could definitely do that. That would actually be something I would definitely look forward to doing and having that
Awesome.
discussion, because I could actually just kind of be my therapist self in a sense without having to you know and have
Yeah,
a conversation and so on. So yeah, I would definitely like to do that. I definitely would be available to do it next week or whenever you're free. We can think of a topic that you want to discuss, and we can
perfect.
yeah, something in the field. Um and we can definitely process that and talk about things from a therapeutic standpoint, treatment standpoint, and
Hmm.
the statistical research that supports either position and so on. So yeah, let's
Right.
do that. Let's do it.
Nice. Okay, perfect. I put my email inside of the private chat, so you got it just in case you
Okay.
don't. And then yeah, let's do this.
Okay,
Well,
we're definitely gonna do this.
I'll say,
Perfect.
So,
Class Ruby.
all right, you have a great night.
Wait,
All
one
right,
question
you
to
too.
leave, Class
Mm?
Ruby.
Yes.
When are you gonna receive the highest honor of psychology document? You gonna get it next year or the year after?
Well, I'm basically mostly off, but on and off of school on medical leave because of my
Mhm.
health.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
therefore does not allow me to, especially because right now, basically, the only thing that I have to complete are my labs, which are basically research studies. So
Yes.
because they're incredibly intensive,
Yeah,
it's not
that's
just
in that's
sitting in a
gonna be
class and
tedious.
learning. Yeah.
Okay.
And some of
All
those
right. Well,
studies,
this is what I'm
like
gonna do. Go ahead.
it may
Go
take
ahead.
you a year or so to do your studies.
Exactly. Like my thesis in and of itself, right, which I started in third year. I mean, the amount of, I mean, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of pieces of paper, right? You're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of studies that you're pouring through and having to organize that information that you're pulling just for your background basically before you even
Yeah,
conduct the research. So it's a lot of work. Basically, I'm at the place where it is a lot of work, a lot of bending over tables and going
a
through the
lot of staying in
research
the
library
library.
and
A
a
lot.
lot of staying in the
I
A lot of
live in the
library.
coffee too.
library.
Don't forget, you need a lot of coffee or tea to go through this.
Well, yeah, and then you have to actually conduct the research, which is a lot of time because
Another aspect of it.
yeah, right. So I mean, like the last lab I did was my animal research lab, my animal behavior lab, which is hilarious because technically it was with fruit flies, which you would think is like not helpful at all, but interestingly enough, it was. Um, but you know, I still have my child psychology, child development lab to do in my thesis. So I mean, it's a lot of work, and it just comes down to I've been working on my health, and you know, trying to basically fix myself to a place where I
Yeah,
can.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're
that's
gonna have to tackle all of that information because I've been there and done that, and it's not an easy. That's a
not
lot of
at
work.
all, right? And like I'm not in what I would like to do, right? I mean, it's like 50-50. I love my school. If I stayed in it to complete my master's and my PhD, it's free. If you get into the master's and PhD program in my school, not only is your schooling free, but they pay you a stipend because you're basically a research assistant. Um, which
Exactly.
which is awesome. But on the other side, I've always wanted to practice, right? So it's like do I go through to my master's with the research and then stop, put a pin in it to go back and get my master's in clinical, so that way at least I can practice on some level, and then go back for my PhD later on the research side of things. I don't know. There's so many different options. It just comes down to like I've done all. The only thing I have to do is the labs and the thesis, and I'm done. So I've done
Hmm.
everything else. If I wasn't in a research school, I would be done, right? Because you
Okay.
don't necessarily have to. You might have to do a thesis, but you don't necessarily have to complete this level, this many labs and stuff like
Yeah.
that, right? Because like if you're in a clinical track, then they tend to focus more on the clinical aspects. Um,
Exactly.
right? Whereas in I had to take bio and chemistry and stats and a whole bunch of stuff because I'm in psychology, neuroscience, and behavior.
Yeah.
So I had to take the
Excellent.
neurosciencey stuff and like,
Excellent.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
you study
lot.
the function of the brain and the neurotransmitters and all that different stuff. That's
Mm.
Yes,
dopamine, all the things that make your brain work and
yes.
so forth. Yeah. So matter of fact, I actually did. I never forget. I did a some content in which I was talking about how uh, in regards to neuropsych, in regards to the most effective diagnoses for ADHD comes from the brain scan of a neuropsychologist doing of the brain, because
Oh,
even though there are different tests that have been proven to diagnose the brain functioning of a person that has ADHD is going to look very different from someone who doesn't, and that to
yes.
me that's the most I think the
Hmm.
most accurate.
Hmm. So I always think
a
it's
way
so
of
interesting with
diagnosing.
ADHD that
Yeah,
people think that people like common folk, right, think that your brain must be hyperactive and that's why you're hyperactive. And it's like, no, your brain is underactive. And so
yeah,
your brain is basically forcing your body to be constantly at movement, or your mind constantly to race, to try to raise your brain activity up to normal so it can feel comfortable. So,
exactly.
people don't realize this. These kids, well, why can't they sit still? Because think about if your heart was only functioning at 60%, would you feel comfortable? Probably not, right? You would need to do something so your heart starts beating better and you get more
It's something
oxygen.
that physiologically triggers that hyperactivity.
Well, that's what it is. It's when their brain
Yeah,
acts, like you think about it, it's like if your brain, right, is like your heart, and so it starts only functioning at 60%. You don't think your brain is going to do everything in its power to make its activation at normal, so that way you don't feel like it's dying? Like, that's what it is, but people don't understand it. And that's why I think the whys are so important, and getting to the understanding part so important, because if you can get a parent to understand that when it comes to hyperactivity ADHD, that their movement is not them being, acting out against you, or, just not caring or whatever, but there's literally something there that, their body this is like self-medication, desperate to try to fix it, and it's not this kid's fault. It's like beyond their conscious awareness. And you can really get this mom or this dad to not take it personally. It's not them not listening to you. They actually probably are trying really hard to listen to you.
yes,
You know what I mean? It can change the dynamic between mother and son so dramatically, and make it so much more positive. And I've seen them do research. I don't know if you've heard about this, but they started doing research where they basically they put kids into like a fake MRI. They tell them it's a fake MRI. Everyone's wearing doctor's coats and stuff, even though they're not really doctors, just researchers. And they tell the kid that them being inside this machine with the fake noises that, whatever, is going to help activate their brains to heal themselves.
also they did
And
a placebo effect.
yeah, an intentional placebo effect, because in essence the placebo effect is you activating these old centers of your brain that know how to heal your body and heal certain things, activating those. And these kids who had bad eczema, kid who had ADHD, there's a couple other ones too, and all of them got significantly better after doing a few of these treatments. So,
Hmm.
our brain does have the power to actually heal us. Literally, the placebo effect is
Yes,
not like fake like we thought it was. It's not like well, there was nothing really wrong with you. Like, no, we have centers in our brain that know how to send the right things down to the right places to fix these problems. Now it's just about learning how to activate those things and keep those things activated, so that way we don't need a bunch of pills in a million years to make people feel somewhat normal. So yeah, sorry,
exactly.
I'm sorry. I know I so went off on a tangent. We're
Yeah,
in like full closing.
that's cool. It's cool. I did my thesis on ADHD and medication, so that's something that
Oh.
I did a lot of stuff on ADHD. A lot of work on that. So
Mm-hmm.
well aware. So okay, well, I'm looking forward to. I'm going to definitely communicate with you about us having a one-on-one to discuss other things. Okay.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you for letting me up tonight.
All right. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Have a good night, Chaos.
Bye bye.
Take care. I email, so check email. Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
Chaos. What's on your mind?
All right. Just a quick wrap up. To Black women and this so-called Black Manosphere space, or Manosphere in general. You should know and learn well that this is space for men. Now, you always hear the movies like The Little Rascals or any movie that talk about said no women allowed. They've been harping on this for the last year and a half. Now you see in 2020 and the wrap of 2020 going on to 2021, there's a certain shift now when women are needed. So I tell ladies this: if you're gonna entertain this so-called space, just know men are gonna be men. Don't take it personal. It comes with the territory. Just like when men come to your space, we're gonna expect ladies are gonna be ladies. Either if you act ratchet or act in a very respectful manner. But this is YouTube. It's entertainment and entertaining nonetheless. Don't expect to take this seriously. don't think you're gonna learn much out of this unless somebody's teaching something you could verify and check, or take notes. But over that, this is mostly entertainment. How I know? Because, like always, D Durrell could vouch for me. When real good content being put out here that doesn't make you want to laugh or argue, you will not watch it. So we know where your head's at, where your mind's at when you come to space where you hear black man, black woman argue for hours and hours. Even go as far as calling each other names, saying things derogatory towards each other. It's all in the frills of therapy for a lot of sick people amongst our community. Our people is very sick. They like to deal with the trauma bond, the argument. It's like a entice as arousal. So my only suggestion, if you're gonna come to YouTube and that's what we expect, leave it at that. But I'm telling you, that can grow, or your perception of your daily lives or your reality will not change, because this is where your mind is at. This is where you're comfortable at. And I always say this personally: a real testament of a individual's growth is they're willing to divulge from debauchery, from filth, degeneracy, and say, "Okay, I had enough of this. It's time for something different." Until you come to that conclusion, all I can see most of you Negroes on here is going to entertain spaces that you are pretty much comfortable with, because you want to be degraded, you want to have a laugh. And I get it, it's come with territory. I cannot the game, the hustle, but don't expect your life's gonna be better. Continue to indulge and consume this type of content. Trust me, I've learned the hard way. That's all I'm gonna say. That's the message that Chaos Reigns will leave to you. So, like always, let chaos reign.
All right, brother. Well, guys, I'm out. Y'all have a good night. D Durrell at the practice definitely had a very good intellectual conversation with everyone. Please subscribe and share. Anybody new to the platform. Talk to you later. Peace.